Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show. Glad to have you aboard. Of course, we are heard everywhere on the radio, on the web, on Newsmax TV, and on apps all over this wonderful world of ours. Coming up in just a few minutes, former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton, will be here, and he will be addressing several issues, including the possible use of chemical weapons in Syria, the situation in Egypt, and the sentencing of Bradley Manning. And that's where I want to start. I want to start with two. I got two stories. And in one case, we have a man who, in my view, should be locked away in prison for the rest of his life. And in the other case, we have a hero and an example of a man using a gun to probably save the life of himself and his wife. Let's start with the sentencing of Bradley Manning for leaking hundreds of thousands of classified documents to WikiLeaks. A military judge gave him 35 years today. Now, talk about truth in sentencing, folks, okay? Here's the deal. He could have got 90 years, which I think he should have gotten. The prosecution asked for 60. The defense asked for no more than 30. Now, he was sentenced to 35, but you see, we have this new math. So he's really probably going to get about 8. Huh? Okay, here's how it works. 35 years. He gets time off, or not time off, but the time he's already served, that time he's been in custody. That totals almost 4 years or thereabouts. So knock down that and apply that. So that's already 4 years off the top. He only has to serve, he's only mandated to serve before he's eligible for parole 1/3 of the sentence. So he's getting out, and it's pending parole, it's pending his appeal. There's also an appeal which could get him out even sooner. But if he serves and if he gets his first parole hearing and he's eligible and they let him out, about 8 years for violating the Espionage Act. Espionage Act, he said. Easy for you to say. It's disgraceful, folks. It really is disgraceful. I mean, come on. What kind of example is this? Not a good one. Not a good one. Especially we have Snowden out there. And we have other wannabes, I'm sure, who say, oh, you know what? If I could go down for 8 years and make a name for myself and be up there and be a hero to the left and expose the evil United States and the killing machine of our military, oh, yeah, baby, I'm going to do it. It's a lot different than facing, the rest of your life. He's 25 years old. He'll be out in his 30s, his young 30s. It doesn't seem right. There's something not right about this. I don't know what the judge took into consideration. I wonder if it was the fact that they tried to argue that Bradley Manning is trapped in a man's body. Yes, evil, don't ask, don't tell probably drove him to do this, folks. You see, he was considering a sex change, but he couldn't talk to anybody about it because he served under Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which was signed by Bill Clinton, by the way, I might point out. And I wonder how much of this weighed on the judge and how much of it gained sympathy with her, because this guy's getting out in, I say, the most 8 years. Now, let's shift gears to someone. Authorities say an escaped inmate suspected of shooting a Southwest Iowa sheriff's deputy was killed by a homeowner who said that the man who was armed broke into his house. This guy, Rodney Long, he escaped from prison. He was scheduled to be released in September of next year. He climbed over a fence and escaped on Friday morning of last week. They've been looking for him. So he was shot to death after he broke into a retired farm couple's home in Bedford, Iowa, about 10:15 p.m. on Monday. He awakened them, and this went on for about 4 hours. He was armed. He was holding them. Nobody knew it. They hadn't called the police. No one knew this hostage, quote-unquote, situation was happening. But the 71-year-old Jerome Morterly decided he was going to take action. So he knew where his shotgun was. He knew where in the kitchen it was. He went. Eventually, when he had an opportunity, he got it, and he killed the man, probably saving his own life and his wife's life. Now, I know you're not going to hear much about this because guns are evil, and anybody who owns a gun is evil, and if you use a gun, there's really something wrong with you. As a matter of fact, this man should have had a sign on his farm, "No gun zone," and that would have served him better, you see, because guns are bad. Anyway, God bless this man for saving himself and his wife and saving the state of Iowa. A lot of trouble, I guess, is what you might say. All right, folks. Also on the show today, later on, former Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld will join us as well. Big show. Noel Shepard with Malzberg's Media Madness. We have a lot to talk about with Noel. Also, we're going to talk about conspiracy theorists and conspiracy theories in the United States especially. And a great new book called The United States of Paranoia by the editor of Reason magazine, Jesse Walker. And you think conspiracy theories are fairly modern and unique to modern America? That's not the case. So at the bottom of this hour, after John Bolton, we're going to tackle that. And I think you're going to be very fascinated to see exactly how far back they go and how diverse and varied and widespread conspiracy theories are. But I think it's all a conspiracy on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
150 million people suffer from headaches. All you want is for the pounding in your head to stop. Migralex stops the pounding. Migralex was developed by a neurologist and founder of the New York Headache Center.
I'm neurologist Dr. Alex Mauskop. After studying and researching the human brain for 25 years, I've developed Migralex, which eliminates pounding headaches. It works for my patients, and I'm so convinced it will work for you. I don't just guarantee it, I put my name on it.
Dr. Mauskop's Migralex gets rid of headaches fast without harsh caffeine, sodium, or preservatives.
Migralex works unbelievably fast, and it's gentle on my stomach.
Find out how to get your free bottle of Migralex. Call 800-532-2967. Plus, if you're one of the first 100 callers, you'll also receive the Migralex Quick Tips to Headache Relief absolutely free. That's 800-532-2967. Or go to migralexrelief.com. MIGRALEX relief.com. Or call 800-532-2967.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
Obamacare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know Obamacare is to survive Obamacare. The Obamacare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Meet Jim. Like many of us, Jim enjoys a busy life. Between work, family, and friends, his days zip along. And Jim has the energy to tackle almost anything. But lately, Jim's get up and go has literally taken on a new meaning. Jim's always put focus on a full night's sleep, but it seems like these days, he's up and down to go to the bathroom so many times he can barely wake up in the morning. His prostate concerns have him sad, tired, and worried. Activities that were once enjoyable now seem like a chore for Jim. His golf game is at the mercy of his bathroom schedule. Family outings are planned around it too. Jim even has difficulty going to the bathroom. He's tried so many prostate remedies he can't keep them straight, and nothing ever seems to help. Then Jim found out about Prostate Revive, the all-natural dietary supplement specifically formulated for men, targeted towards improving and sustaining normal prostate function. Prostate Revive includes 15 super ingredients never combined before, including saw palmetto extract, beta-cytosterol, pomegranate fruit extract, selenium, and other high-quality nutrients. These targeted and all-natural ingredients promote healthy urinary flow and optimal prostate health. And the best part is, Prostate Revive was developed by a renowned medical doctor. Dr. David Brownstein personally formulated Prostate Revive with one goal in mind: to promote a healthy prostate gland. Thanks to Prostate Revive, Jim's got his life back. He gets a full night's sleep every night, and his friends and his wife can't believe he's the same guy. He has his old energy back, and no one has to wait for him. He doesn't even think about his prostate concerns anymore. Visit MedicSelect.com to take back your nights and improve your quality of life with Prostate Revive.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
We have been very clear to the Assad regime, but also to other players on the ground, that a red line for us is we start seeing a whole bunch of chemical weapons moving around or being utilized. That would change my calculus. That would change my equation.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. That was President Obama 1 year ago today, exactly 1 year ago today, August 21st, 2012. And, of course, today we have reports of as many as 1,300 killed in a gas attack, a possible chemical attack near Damascus. The opposition making this claim, the Assad regime saying we didn't do anything. And as we speak, the United Nations Security Council in a special meeting has convened to discuss this. Joining us now is a man who used to be involved with that directly, the former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, John Bolton. Hey, sir, how are you?
Hi, how are you? Glad to be with you.
Always my pleasure. Okay, so you heard President Obama a year ago. Nothing has changed since then, or everything has changed. The line kept moving. He's done nothing, and there have been several instances of and accusations of chemical weapons use. What do you make of these latest accusations, and what do you make of the Security Council meeting? What's going to be accomplished there?
Well, certainly the quotation that you just played was one of the low moments of the Obama administration, because when the United States, when the president particularly draws a red line and then ignores it, we pay a cost, because our adversaries around the world look at that and say, the United States really doesn't mean it when it says it's serious. We can act with impunity, and I think that's what's happened. In terms of this most recent possible use of chemical weapons, look, I fully believe the Assad regime is capable of it. I believe they've used chemical weapons before. I also believe, I have to say, that if al-Qaeda elements in the opposition got their hands on some of Syria's chemical weapons stockpile, that they'd be prepared to use them as well, and to frame Assad while they were at it. I have to say, in this case, Syria negotiated for months and months with the United Nations to keep this inspection team out. They limited their mission. They dragged it out so the trail would go cold. And now, at the very moment this UN inspection team arrives in Syria, it would be an act of utter stupidity for the Syrian government actually to use chemical weapons. When you have the inspectors right there. That's not to say that the Assad regime's not capable of it. They certainly are. But I think we on this particular use, we need more facts. That said, I go back to the point that you started with, and that is that Obama talked about how serious it would be if somebody used chemical weapons, and for 1 year we have done next to nothing other than talk at the United Nations.
And there's really no way that the Security Council could, or anybody, even on the ground, well, maybe on the ground, but I mean, let me rephrase it. What's the likelihood that they find out if these chemical weapons were used and 1,300 are dead? When or if will they find out who was responsible?
Well, I think it's pretty remote. As I just said, the team that is there now, the UN inspection team, has a very limited mandate, and you can count on the government of Syria, if they did use chemical weapons, not to let them get anywhere near that location. We've also had indications from Russia already that they consider this news of possibly over 1,000 dead as propaganda. So my guess is in the Security Council, even as we speak, the Russians are making sure that nothing really significant happens. I'm sure at the end of the day there'll be a statement issued by the Security Council that condemns the use of chemical weapons. That will say nothing and mean nothing, and that could well be the end of it from the UN perspective.
All right, let's move ahead here and talk about some other breaking news of the day before we get on to Egypt, and that would be the judge sentencing Bradley Manning to 35 years. Now, the prosecution, Mr. Ambassador, had asked for 60 out of the possible 90. The defense wanted no more than 30, and in effect, he's getting 8. Because the 35, he gets time served already, which is about 4, and he only has to serve 1/3 of that sentence. Then he's eligible to get out, and so he might have himself a 7.5, 8-year sentence.
I think it's disgraceful. I think this judge has made a number of rulings during the course of the trial that I think were just absolutely unjustifiable. The harm that Bradley Manning caused is enormous. And this really is, people are now debating what are called mandatory minimum sentences, and those were put into effect some years ago because too many judges gave sentences that were too lenient. And I put this one right up at the top of the heap. I just think this is disgraceful.
What message does it send to future future Mannings?
Well, exactly. I mean, this is a slap on the wrist. He's already been in jail for about 3 years. And I'm sure that before the end of the Obama administration, you're going to hear calls to give him a pardon. Now, I will say this: I don't have much good to say about Bradley Manning, but I will say this: he, being in the military, he may have had no choice, but at least he stood trial for what he did. Edward Snowden, the other famous leaker, of course, is hiding out in Russia. He claims he was a whistleblower too. He claims he had higher motives. Well, if he had any guts, he'd come back and do what Bradley Manning did, at least, which was put himself in front of a court and try and defend his actions.
And apologize, by the way, for whatever it's worth.
And apologize. I have to say that, too. That's a good point.
All right, we're talking to Ambassador John Bolton here on the Steve Malzberg Show. All right, you wrote a brilliant piece on the situation in Egypt, appearing in the Wall Street Journal today. Let me ask you, we heard much about, and I can only assume it happened or it's happening, this cabinet meeting that was going to take place at the White House today to further talk about Egyptian aid, U.S. aid to Egypt and the Egyptian military. You're in that room. You're in that cabinet meeting, sir. What do you say to the president?
Well, I would very much oppose cutting off aid, although I think that's the direction the Obama administration is moving. I think the president's been on the side of the scales with the Muslim Brotherhood right from the beginning, right from the time he gave that speech in Egypt, in Cairo, and early 2009 when he insisted that Muslim Brotherhood officials be in the audience, even though it was outlawed in Egypt at the time. I think he's being told by a lot of his advisors that we can't cut the aid off, because we have important security interests there, maintaining the Camp David peace agreement with Israel at the top of the list. So my guess is Obama's going to do what he specializes in, which is that he will dither and he will resort to half measures so that he can't be pinned down one way or the other. But I think Egyptians read this very clearly. They see the Obama administration as being on the side of the Muslim Brotherhood. They attribute it to our ambassador to Egypt, Ann Patterson, and to the president himself. And, this is one of these things where appearance is reality. If people in Egypt think that we support the Brotherhood, they'll react accordingly. And I think that will harm American interest, unfortunately.
And if you're in that cabinet meeting and helping the president not dither or preventing him from dithering too long, and he says to you, he turns to you, he says, and we're playing fantasy here, but he says, tell me about the Muslim Brotherhood. I've heard from John Brennan and others that they're pretty good guys. What would you say in a minute to convince him otherwise?
Well, I think it's critical to understand the Muslim Brotherhood is not a political party as we in the United States understand that term. It's an armed theology. It's a militia group. It doesn't play by normal political rules. When they had control of the Egyptian government under President Mohamed Morsi, they were conducting a creeping coup d'etat against everybody else in Egypt to put in a Sharia law state. And it's one of the reasons why Coptic Christians, Muslim women who don't want to wear the burqa for the rest of their lives have been leading the opposition to the Brotherhood. It's much like the Communist Party in the United States in the sense that Mr. Justice Jackson once called the communist a state within a state. That's what the Brotherhood is. And they're not going to accept the legitimacy of any Egyptian government they don't control. So it's unpleasant. It's certainly unpleasant for Americans. It's more unpleasant for Egyptians. There's a struggle here for who's going to control. Do you have a chance for evolution in the future, or do you have a Muslim Brotherhood-led state forever? And from that perspective, America's interests lie in a secure and stable Egyptian government that upholds the Camp David Accords, keeps the Panama Canal open, and keeps the Sinai from being a highway for terrorists. So I think that points in only one direction, and that's continue military aid and continue to try and use our influence in Egypt.
As you discussed so eloquently in your Wall Street Journal piece, one-word answer, two-word answer, what are the odds that Obama will anytime soon speak about the systematic killing of Christians and the cops in Egypt, the burning of churches, the parading around of Catholic nuns, Christian nuns? It just seems unfathomable that this administration and the media and everyone else isn't up in arms, but nobody is.
Yeah, look, he gives it a very light touch, but barely mentions it, and this is a demonstration of what we have to fear from the Muslim Brotherhood.
All right, fair enough, Mr. Ambassador. John Bolton, senior fellow, by the way, at the American Enterprise Institute, author of Surrender is Not an Option, Defending America at the United Nations and Abroad. Always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks again for having me.
My pleasure. All right, folks. Interesting. We covered a lot of heavy lifting there on a lot of heavy lifting topics of great concern to all of us here. We're coming back, 855-777-9660, right here, I say, on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Are you at least 62 years old like me? Could you use an extra $50,000, $100,000 or more to live a better life? Then please consider the benefits a reverse mortgage can provide to you. With a reverse mortgage, you can have your mortgage payments stopped altogether and get equity out of your home to live on. And you can use the money to help you live a better life. How nice would that be, not to have a mortgage payment? Qualifying for a reverse mortgage is simple, since there are no income, asset, employment, or credit requirements. However, you must be 62 years or older, own your home outright, or have a very low balance on the mortgage, and be prepared to live in it throughout the rest of the loan. Call now for more information.
800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560.
If your prostate is giving you problems and your doc says it's just part of getting older, be wary. Renowned physician and author Dr. David Brownstein thinks this is baloney. He's discovered a link between aging and prostate health and believes prostate concerns do not have to be an inevitable part of aging. That's why he created Prostate Revive.
Hi, I'm Dr. David Brownstein. I personally formulated Prostate Revive to include the most essential natural ingredients available to help promote a healthy prostate gland and optimal urinary function.
The producers of Dr. Brownstein's Prostate Revive are so thrilled with the positive feedback from satisfied customers that for a limited time, they are willing to send you your first month's supply free. Plus, call now and you'll also receive Dr. Brownstein's special report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. For details on getting your free bottle, call 1-800-596-REVIVE. That's 1-800-596-REVIVE. Take control with Prostate Revive. Call now while supplies last to claim your risk-free bottle at 1-800-596-REVIVE.
According to the FBI Uniform Crime Report, there are over 5,000 robberies every day. Your home could be at risk of being burglarized. Don't put your loved ones and valuables in jeopardy. For just over $1 per day, your home can be protected from break-ins, fire, and more. Get the latest home security technology from Protect Your Home, your ADT authorized dealer. Over 6 million households sleep better at night with ADT monitored home security. What's more, Protect Your Home is offering you their latest equipment, an $850 value, absolutely free for qualified customers. Protect your loved ones and home today. Call now for licenses and to find out more. The call is free, 1-800-949-8201. That's 1-800-949-8201. Again, 1-800-949-8201. $99 installation charge, 36-month monitoring agreement at $36.99 per month. Payment by credit card or electronic bank account charge. For new homeowner customers with satisfactory credit history only. Local permit fees may be required. Certain restrictions apply. Cannot be combined with any other offer.
Health insurance is on everybody's mind right now. You either don't have it or you have it and you think it's too expensive. And you probably feel like you don't have any options. We can help. We are InSphere Insurance Solutions. We offer health insurance plans from major carriers nationwide and likely have a plan that can save you money. Whether you're self-employed, on a COBRA plan that's about to expire, or you simply don't have health insurance where you work and you need it, InSphere Insurance Solutions can help you. Our agents will help you find coverage you can afford. InSphere Insurance Solutions is an authorized agency in all 50 states, including the District of Columbia. Plans may not be available in all states. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show. No. This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists. And, they're nuts. They're out to lunch. They're crazy. But yet they persist. And I think with the advent of the Internet, there's more and more of these conspiracy theories and theorists popping up and putting forth their spin and their take on various things. Some have been around for a long time, and some date back further than you could possibly imagine. Joining us right now is the author of a great new book, Jesse Walker, who happens to be the books editor at Reason Magazine, and he is the author of a great new book, and it addresses everything that I've just tried to address very shortly here. It's called The United States of Paranoia, and I hold it up for our Newsmax TV audience to take a look at. Hey, Jesse, how are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm all right. I appreciate you coming on. Let's talk. First of all, how far back can you trace, like maybe the first known conspiracy theory that became prominent in the United States?
Oh, well, there have been, even before there was a United States, the English colonists came here and immediately had conspiracy theories about the Indians and about each other. And I assume that even before then, the Native Americans probably had conspiracy theories about each other. But I mean, I write about in the 17th century all sorts of conspiracy theories involving Indians, often Indians supposedly collaborating with Catholics or Quakers or the French colonists. And some of this was just on the level of stuff that could be plausible. They're worried about a possible attack. Maybe one tribe is allied with another. Some of it gets a lot sort of bigger and stranger. I mean, the most large and bizarre theory, which a number of prominent Puritans believed in New England, was that Satan had come to America and settled it with pagans from who didn't like the spread of the gospel in Europe, and that those were the Indians. And of course, this could be used as justification for killing people you didn't like. But even beyond that, I mean, King Philip's War, King William's War, all sorts of wars that were fought in the early colonial days had fears of conspiracies at their core.
All right, but now let's take it a little closer to modern day,
Sure.
And in general. I mean, it is possible. I mean, some of these things that people have conspiracy theories about, so-called, for instance, the JFK assassination. I mean, there's been an official stamp put on the JFK assassination, but yet there are questions that remain. When people raise legitimate questions or questions that seem to make sense, but there's been a quote-unquote official investigation that has stamped it case closed. And I guess I'm talking specifically about the JFK assassination. Do you call that a conspiracy theory? I mean, you do in the book, I guess, but isn't that, and maybe there are more examples, of something that is a legitimate question? I mean, what's the razor's edge here? What's the fine line between a conspiracy theory and something that has been officially cleared up, but there are big looming questions?
Well, sometimes conspiracy theories are true. I mean, I say at the beginning of the book, I'm not writing this either to espouse or to debunk any particular conspiracy theories. Now, some that I write about, I say, this is nonsense, but there's some where I say this is true. I mean, Chapter 7 of the book really focuses on stuff that came out in the 1970s, for example, with a lot of the post-Watergate investigations, which not only revealed a lot of government misbehavior, but also then sort of lowered the bar for people imagining further government misbehavior in conspiracy theories that sometimes had some credibility and sometimes didn't. So I'm not using the phrase conspiracy theory as a way of dismissing people. I think some conspiracy theories are true, some aren't. Some are a mix of truth and falsity. The two main points I'm trying to make are that, first of all, not only has this been around since the beginning, but it's been true across the political spectrum, including the center. I mean, the establishment has its own conspiracy theories. It's not just a feature of the fringe. And also that even when a conspiracy theory says absolutely nothing true about the object of the theory, it says something true about the anxieties and the experiences of the people who embrace it. If theory catches on, then that's folklore, and that's worth paying attention to, because, if someone believes that, pick it out of your hat, which villain killed John F. Kennedy or, Malcolm X or whoever, then that says something about, the way those folks see the world, and that says something about the way they're living at that time.
We are talking to Jesse Walker. He's the author of The United States of Paranoia, a conspiracy theory. Let me ask about the title also before we get back into more of this. United States of Paranoia, if you don't know what it's about, makes it sound like, a knock on the United States. I know you're not doing that. You have to put it into context, I guess. But is believing in a conspiracy theory necessarily paranoia?
Well, again, I say at the beginning of the book, I'm using the word paranoia colloquially, not clinically. I say everybody is capable of paranoid thinking, including you, me, and the founding fathers. In fact, I very much speak out against people who use phrases like, sort of clinical terms to dismiss folks that they disagree with politically. And specifically, I look at the early 60s, a lot of the way that folks like Richard Hofstadter wrote about conservatives at that time, the way that, Facts Magazine, declared that had psychiatrists declaring that Barry Goldwater had, quote-unquote, a paranoid personality. I'm using, the title, United States of Paranoia, that's a pun. It's fun, supposed to draw people in, but I'm not talking about any kind of psychiatric diagnosis or anything like that.
What about the 9/11 so-called truthers? Yeah. Do conspiracies that have taken hold since the internet has become available have they lasted longer, grown bigger than they would have if there was no internet, like the older conspiracies? Do you think that some of them, like that one, maybe have taken off in particular because of it keeps being propagated over and over again on the internet?
Well, there are certainly long-lived conspiracy theories before there was an internet. The two things that the internet really did is, first of all, things can spread a lot faster now, and just with conspiracy theories as with anything else. And the other is that there's been a lot more mixing. There's always been some, but especially since the 90s when the net started to take off, you could have on the same forum, hippies, militiamen, black nationalists, all trading conspiracy theories and drawing on each other's stories, and you come up with some interesting combinations that way. It's not so much that we're getting more because of the internet; it's just faster and more of a stew.
All right, let me ask you about the United States government has been, pumping drugs into black minority neighborhoods. The CIA has done it, I guess, is what the claim is, or the conspiracy theory would be. How prominent is that one?
Like in general in the book, or?
Well, I mean, how prominent have you found through your research that?
I mean, that's something that comes up. I mean, the two sort of bursts of discussion of that. I know in the 1960s, early 70s, there was some talk about that, and there was some genuine scandals about some CIA people being involved with the drug trade in Southeast Asia, which then sort of fueled the further speculation. And then there was in the 1990s, and I don't get into this in the book, but there was the stories in, I think it was the San Jose paper, about alleging a CIA cocaine connection with the Nicaraguan Contras. And again, in this case, I mean, there are worse documented cases of people turning a blind in the intelligence community, turning a blind eye to drug dealing by folks who they were collaborating with in other ways. This sometimes got translated into the idea of the government deliberately injecting crack into communities, which is a somewhat larger story and more frightening one. But you can see how that sort of thing could catch on with communities trying to explain what's going on with crack. And the effects of the drugs and of the drug war.
What about space aliens? What about the government knows, the government's hiding it, which I don't doubt, because I have trouble believing that we're the only ones that every day we're finding out there are other universes out there with planets as big or bigger than ours. So I'm just I'm not 100% sure we're the only ones out there, but that aside, my personal beliefs aside, what about the that we're not alone and there are space creatures and the government knows it and they're hiding all this information?
Yeah, well, there's like a sort of a step from one. I mean, we're not alone. It's easy to believe. We're not alone, and space aliens have actually found their way here is a bigger story than that the U.S. government knows about it and isn't telling people is an even bigger story or a bigger bite to chew on. I talk about beliefs about aliens and UFOs in a number of different contexts, including I have a chapter on the idea of the benevolent conspiracy as sort of like a secret force plotting to make people's lives better. And there's people who feel that way about aliens. It's actually they sort of secularize the idea of angels and put aliens in their place. So I discuss it in that context too, because sometimes there's the people who want the UFOs to come here, as well as the people who are afraid of an alien invasion.
And we're talking once again with Jesse Walker, the author of The United States of Paranoia, a conspiracy theory. Are Americans more likely to believe these things, or is this a worldwide phenomena?
It's a worldwide phenomenon. I mean, I wrote about it in the United States because I'm an American. I'm interested in American history. I think that looking at the history of what Americans have been afraid of is just a really interesting way to look at American history. But like I say at the beginning, I'm not claiming that we're more scared or prone to conspiracy thinking than any other country. For all I know, the French or who knows what they're afraid of. I mean, there's certainly the Middle East, Africa, Russia, Latin America. Every place has its own set of conspiracy theories. They have their own distinctive stamp. I'm looking at, in America, what kind of conspiracy theories has our culture produced? What do they say about us as a people? And that does not in any way mean that we're more scared than anyone else. It just means we're differently scared.
One brief question as we finish up here, Jason. If you had to pick, and we got a book here that's about 400 pages all in all, if you had to pick the most outlandish, ridiculous, in your view, conspiracy theory that you came across in your research, what would it be?
That would be the idea that manholes are there to capture people for medical experiments.
Well, I thought they were there. You remember the Superman episode when there's a whole colony of little men down there in the manholes, and they're going to invade us. But that's a good one. They capture.
Maybe he got the idea from that.
Yeah. Now, do they suck the people down the manhole, or they open the manhole and grab people?
The guy was kind of vague about it, but I love that concept. I almost wish that one were true.
That's a great one. All right, listen, and the book is chock full of those kind and the more serious and well-known as well. Jesse Walker, thank you for your time, sir.
Well, glad to be here. Thank you.
Bye-bye. The United States of Paranoia, a conspiracy theory by Jesse Walker. It's interesting. When I saw this book, I said, yeah, we got to get him because there are so many, and it's so, some of them are crazy. And some of them I think are dead wrong and politically motivated. And he talks about in the book how the media and politicians either collaborate or on their own. They mostly coalesce to advance their own agendas and through putting forth theories that you might call conspiracy theories, or certainly. But very, very interesting stuff. Very interesting. So I'm glad we had a chance to address that. We're coming back. You want to weigh in on this or anything else we've talked about so far? And we've covered a lot in like 45 minutes, especially with Ambassador Bolton. It's 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660. And don't forget, coming up later in the show, Malzberg's Media Madness with Noel Shepard and former Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld. And Charles Hurd of the Washington Times will be here to talk about instant replay in baseball and oh so much more. I like that. Oh so much more. All that straight ahead right here on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction to alcohol or drugs, then you must listen to this message, because there is hope. No matter what addiction you or your loved one is coping with, you are just one phone call away from real help. Recovery Hotline makes the healing process simple and affordable by matching people to fully certified and experienced inpatient facilities that are right for their personal situations. Call 800-668-1286 now. Don't wait another day. Money does not have to be an issue. Most insurance is accepted. Just call 800-668-1286 today. Recovery Hotline's mission is to help you or someone you love begin the healing process and get back a healthy and sober life. And we can even help with family interventions and travel arrangements. One phone call is all it takes to get back the life you or your loved one deserves. The call is free. The help is real. Call 800-668-1286. That's 800-668-1286. 800-668-1286. Again, 800-668-1286.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-0920. That's 800-460-0920. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-0920. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
We're in the midst of an obesity epidemic, and I'm not surprised. The statistics on obesity mirror an increasing trend of eating out or ordering in. In fact, some people dine out every night, but eating in restaurants is one of the biggest enemies of your heart. When you're in a restaurant, you don't really know what you're getting, and the calorie counts of many restaurant dishes are astronomical. In fact, some single dishes contain more calories than we should eat in an entire day. Eating in fast food restaurants is even worse. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and shakes constitutes a fast lane to the emergency room. If you really want to help your heart, get in the habit of cooking simple meals at home. Here are 3 easy tips that will make your food taste better than even the best restaurant. Choose the best fruit in season. Your local farmer's market is a great place to start. It will probably still cost less than that pie you were thinking of buying. Get in the habit of using fresh herbs. You can use them in egg white omelets or dust them on the fish you grill or bake. And for a light dessert, choose a square or 2 of dark chocolate that you and your spouse can enjoy. There are lots of ways to make your heart healthy, but there are also lots of ways to damage it. That's why I wrote Fix It, Dr. Crandall's 90-day program. In it, I'll tell you how to kickstart your metabolism every day, how to pick the best diet for you, how to stop hunger from sabotaging your diet, the 7 superfoods for your heart. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute.
Attention seniors and baby boomers. A new website has been created just for you. SocialSecurityFree.com. At SocialSecurityFree.com, we reveal a weird trick that could help you add $152,000 to your Social Security payouts. For example, did you know how you file for Social Security can dramatically change the amount of money you collect? One simple step could add up to $1,000 to your monthly payouts. And other loopholes we found reveal 33 ways for big savings on your health care. At SocialSecurityFree.com, you will also discover how you could save up to 50% on your groceries, along with 49 other ways to save as much as $50,000 starting today. Newsmax says SocialSecurityFree.com is a critical resource for anyone over the age of 50. So go to SocialSecurityFree.com now to find out how you could add extra money to your Social Security checks. That's SocialSecurityFree.com. The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I tell you, this show's about to go to the dogs. And what do I mean by that exactly? Well, did you hear the networks go crazy about the new dog at the White House, the new little playmate for Beau, Sonny? And here's how it all sounded. Sit back, relax, and get ready for some canine action.
The first family is a little bit larger this morning. The Obamas are welcoming their second dog named Sonny.
The new playmate for America's first dog. The First Lady revealing the Obamas have adopted Sonny to join Beau at the White House.
First family has adopted a second dog. Her name, Sonny. She is a Portuguese water dog. That is the same breed as Obama's other dog, Beau.
Move over, Beau. There's a new dog in town, Sonny. And for her inaugural play date, the White House released its own music video. A pair of presidential pets frolicking on the South Lawn. That'll get tails wagging.
The one-year-old female Portuguese water dog is described as full of energy and very affectionate. First Lady Michelle Obama took to Instagram to make the announcement, tweeting, "So excited to introduce the newest member of the Obama family, our puppy, Sonny." President Obama chimed in as well, tweeting, "Welcome to the family, Sonny."
The White House released photos of Sonny yesterday. He was born 14 months ago in Michigan. The two dogs appear to be getting along just fine.
All right. Now, first of all, if you think that Michelle Obama actually tweeted that out herself and President Obama actually tweeted that out himself, I got a bridge to sell you not too far from here. That's number one, but that's an aside. And I don't have a problem really with the networks, reporting on it, certainly. But they became obsessed. And let me bring you something you probably won't hear too much about. And that is the fact that the president of the Humane Society of the United States, a gentleman named Wayne Pacelle, or Pacelli, took to his blog to point out that the Obamas have not been very forthcoming about their new pup's origins, other than to say that the pup came, as you heard in the report, from the state of Michigan. And considering, he says, that it's pretty rare to find a purebred like Sonny in an animal shelter, it's a good bet that Sonny is not a rescue dog. And he takes the Obamas to task for that. As we always say in such circumstances, he writes, we hope the Obamas considered adoption or rescue as the first choice in obtaining a pet. In a weird example of paying for an indulgence for making the politically incorrect choice, Pacelli reveals that the Obamas made a donation to the Humane Society, quote unquote, in Sonny's name. Listen to what this guy wrote. The same president of the Humane Society who wrote this, saying, I hope the Obamas considered, adopting or rescue, We are pleased to learn that the first family made a donation in Sonny's name to the Washington Humane Society, which shows the family's awareness and concern for the problem of homeless dogs and cats in our nation. Now, I don't know if this, I think he wrote the first part first, and then I guess somebody saw it, and they said, we better make a donation. And who wrote this on Breitbart? Gentleman named Larry O'Connor, okay, friend of mine, Larry O'Connor, said, is this some kind of canine carbon credit where it's okay not to adopt a rescue dog as long as you make a donation? You know what, that's a concept behind a carbon credit. You got to pay, you have a huge carbon footprint, you heat a huge mansion, you cool a huge mansion, you have your own jet, your own boat, whatever. Well, you can put all the pollution in the air you want. You just have to pay a carbon credit, an offset, quote unquote. Like that's going to make the air better. Like making this donation, instead of rescuing a dog, is actually going to save a dog's life. It's nonsense. That's a great analogy. And it says here, it appears the politicalization of the new White House puppy will continue until Congress comes back to town. Then there's the bizarre. Okay, and by the way, it would have been nice. They already have one purebred water dog. Go rescue. Set an example. Set an example. You're getting a second dog. Set an example and go get a dog from a shelter. Go to D.C., go downtown D.C., whatever. Go to Maryland, go to Virginia. Go to a rescue shelter. Save a dog from being killed. No, not the first family. Now, the Daily Caller is calling out the African-American president of the United States for not having any white dogs as pets. Quote, with the addition of Sonny, the Obamas now have 2 black Portuguese water dogs. The Obamas do not have any white dogs. Reporter Patrick Howley, who's been on this show, noted that in a blog post last night. The post also specifies the new dog, Sonny, is a Portuguese water dog born in Michigan, where the unemployment rate was at 8.8%. last week. I'm sure this is tongue-in-cheek. I'm sure there's no racial overtones to the selection of the second black dog as opposed to a white dog. Anyway, all right, folks. I told you we were going to the dogs. I wasn't lying. When we come back, we're going to talk about, terrorism training in the United States on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530. That's 800-460-1530. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-1530. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
Are payday loans ruining your life? If you have 2 or more payday loan cash advances, listen closely. You may be eligible for a program that payday loan companies don't want you to know about.
This program will get payday loan companies out of your bank account and put an end to the payday loan nightmare. Call for free information and find out if Payday Loan Support Center is right for you. Payday loan companies usually trap you into paying rates as high as 700%. We understand payday lenders' tactics. Don't let them take advantage of you anymore. All you need is 2 or more payday loans to qualify. We can help even if you're behind in collections or have bad credit.
Internet payday loans qualify for this program as well. So call 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. The call is free and the consultation is free. Don't miss out. Call for your free information on payday loan relief. 800-250-5084. That's 800-250-5084. Again, 800-250-5084.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. Today, Syrian rebels are claiming the government launched a poisonous gas attack that killed hundreds of people. The rebels posted videos to YouTube showing rows of bodies they claim were killed in an artillery and rocket attack on rebel areas in the eastern suburbs of Damascus. Syria State TV denies the claims, but chemical weapons experts say the lack of obvious external injuries and the frozen appearance of the victims in those videos suggests chemical weapons were in fact used.
We have hundreds of people who've been killed overnight. The situation is extremely dire.
Well, the UN has deployed a team of experts to Syria to investigate claims of chemical weapons use by government forces. But in order to inspect the site of today's alleged attack, the head weapons instructor says the Syrian government would have to agree, and they have not done that. An Army private, Bradley Manning, will serve 35 years in a military prison for leaking classified information to the website WikiLeaks. Manning was sentenced today. He was facing a potential 90-year sentence for handing over more than 700,000 Iraqi and Afghanistan battlefield reports and diplomatic cables from the State Department while he worked as an intelligence analyst in Iraq in 2010. Manning has been called both a traitor and a whistleblower. Protesters gathered outside Fort Meade, where Manning was sentenced today, calling for his release. Of course, that won't happen. And a 20-year-old man now is in jail after police say he walked into a Metro Atlanta elementary school with an AK-47 and then opened fire on police. The shooting forced the evacuation of 800 students and staff at the Ronald McNair Discovery Learning Academy in DeKalb County outside of Atlanta. The suspect, Michael Brandon Hill, ordered the school's office staff to call a local TV station. The police were also called in, and when they arrived, Hill opened fire.
He possibly fired as anywhere from half a dozen shots when he fired out of the building at police officers that were approaching the scene. And when officers had a clear shot, they returned fire. Fortunately, no one was injured.
After that shootout, Hill surrendered. Police say he was able to walk through an open door behind someone who did have authorized access to the school. And police say 3 Oklahoma teens decided to shoot and kill 22-year-old Christopher Lane because they were bored. 2 of the boys, 15 and 16 years old, were both charged with first-degree murder. A third, a 17-year-old, was charged as an accessory. Lane was jogging near his girlfriend's home last Friday when he was shot in the back in broad daylight. And coming up next on your Newsmax Now update, wildfires spread out across 11 states. Are national firefighting resources now too thin to keep everyone safe? Plus, a Newsmax exclusive with Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen. Her reaction to the State Department decision not to discipline the officials originally held responsible for their terror attack in Benghazi.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com.
What is LigNet? LigNet is knowledge. LigNet is power. LigNet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is LigNet? LigNet is confidential. LigNet is sensitive. LigNet is security. What is LigNet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on LigNet.com. You've been briefed.
Hi, this is Dick Morris. Obamacare is taking full effect this year with over 15,000 pages of regulations. You need to know how this law affects you. That's why you should get your copy of Obamacare Survival Guide. It's easy to read and the best guide to the new law. Even if you're currently insured or a senior on Medicare or a business owner, a medical professional, or really any citizen, you need the Obamacare Survival Guide. In it, you'll find about hidden taxes, fees, and fines, including a 40% tax on some health plans. I warned you about Obamacare. It's rationing, Medicare cuts, and will trigger doctor shortages. Now the Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the simple steps to protect your family. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. It's already a #1 Amazon bestseller. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 today by going to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
And welcome back. resources may be stretched too thin in the West, where at least 47 wildfires are burning this day in 11 states. One of the biggest is the Beaver Creek fire near Sun Valley, Idaho. After 2 weeks of battling the blaze, firefighters feel they may have gained control of the fire. It is now 31% contained and is no longer a danger to most of the homes in that area. And during a Newsmax exclusive interview, Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, reacts to the news that all the State Department officials previously disciplined for the terror attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi have all now been cleared and ordered back to work.
It is unbelievable. If it were not happening, if this were not the truth, I would say this belongs in a Ripley's Believe It or Not.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for August 21st. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
It's mid-August, which means football is in the air. And, well, I love baseball, but Sports Center is better when you also got some football on there. College football kicks off next week. NFL regular season the week after that. And so today, just to whet everybody's appetite, I am proud to welcome the only undefeated, untied team in NFL history to the White House for the very first time. Give it up for the 1972 Miami Dolphins.
Woo-hoo! All right, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show, folks. That was Barack Obama at the White House yesterday with the aforementioned undefeated Miami Dolphins from 1972. It was not customary back then for all the Super Bowl teams and championship teams to appear at the White House, so they did not make it to see Richard Nixon. So Barack Obama had them. And I might point out that Hall of Fame center Jim Langer, defensive tackle Manny Fernandez, and guard Kuchenberg, what do I want to say, Mike Kuchenberg, did not attend because of the fact that they have problems. They have problems with Obama and his policies, and they don't agree with them. They said it would be hypocritical, and so they didn't. They just did not attend. Okay, but that aside, Barack Obama, big sports fan. We've heard this over and over and over and over and over again. Probably the biggest sports fan of any president ever. Forget the fact that George W. Bush owned the Texas Rangers. Okay, here's the next cut from Barack Obama. This would be cut number 24.
I want to thank the owners, Stephen Ross, and I want to thank Tim Roby and everyone from the Dolphins organization who helped make this event possible after all this time.
Okay, here's the deal. You ever hear of Joe Robbie Stadium? Joe Robbie Stadium was where the Dolphins used to play. It's changed names a couple of times since then, and Joe Robbie Stadium was, Joe Robbie was the former owner of the Miami Dolphins. Tim Robbie is his son, who Barack Obama was alluding to when he said Tim Roby. You get it? Now, I haven't heard this pointed out anywhere. Another embarrassment by the president, another slip-up. Oh, it's just minor. I wouldn't mind if he didn't make believe that he knew everything. I wouldn't mind if he didn't make believe and he wasn't portrayed as the great sports president, this huge sports fan, especially when it comes to basketball and baseball. So we called Tim Roby. So what? Maybe he thought it was Roby Stadium because he didn't know what Comiskey Park was called. Now, I could prove all this to you. First of all, let's go back a little more recently. He was campaigning for the last campaign. He was in Miami at a fundraiser, and here's what he had to say about the world champion NBA team. You know their name, I know their name, but apparently he doesn't. Cut 25.
Finally, it would be incomplete if I did not congratulate the city of Miami for having the world champion Miami Heat.
Okay. Did we hear? Could we play? Did we have the S on there? Okay, I couldn't hear it. Yeah, the Miami Heats, the world champion Miami Heats with an S. Funny, I thought it was the Miami Heat. So I learned that it wasn't really Joe Robbie Stadium or Joe Robbie because it's Tim Roby. So it must have been Joe Roby Stadium. It's the Miami Heats, not the Miami Heat. And I'm not finished. I'm just getting started. Again, I don't pick on him because I pick on him for no reason. I pick on him because if this was George Bush, ho, 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 ho! All right, we're not finished yet. Here he is doing an interview with Bob Costas several years ago. Now remember, he's known as this huge White Sox fan, yet he gets the name of the stadium wrong where the White Sox used to play. Comiskey Park. It's like Yankee Stadium. He calls it Kaminsky with an N Field. It would be like me saying Yonke Arena instead of Yankee Stadium. That's how bizarre it is. Big White Sox fan. Listen to cut number 26.
You're a Southsider. You're a White Sox guy, not a Cubs guy.
Listen, I'm not a Cubs hater. You know, there's a certain type of White Sox fan that actively roots against the Cubs. So when the Bartman, there were people who celebrated on the South Side. I'm not one of those guys. I wish them well, unless they're playing the White Sox. But I do think that there's a different quality to what used to be Kaminsky Field versus Wrigley. You know, you've got to really love baseball, you know, when you used to go into that old field.
The old Comiskey Park.
Right, and if you're in the nosebleed seats and it looked like you were about to fall into
You see, Bob Costas tried to save him. The old Comiskey Park. Too bad Obama called it Kaminsky Field. What? That's like a sin in the sports world. You can't be a White Sox fan. See, here's what I love. Just say, yeah, I like baseball. Yeah, I'm a sports guy, you know, but no. Oh, here's the difference between the two fields. Old Kaminsky Park. I mean, Old Kaminsky Field. What are you talking about? I'm not finished yet. Here we go to Obama. He threw out the first pitch where at the Nationals game several years ago. He couldn't throw. He wore a Nationals jacket, but had to have the White Sox cap on, of course, because he's such a big White Sox fan, Kaminsky Field. And he gets up there, and former White Sox pitcher Rob Dibble's in the broadcast booth, and they ask him, who were your favorite White Sox players when you were first a White Sox fan? Humana, huh? You want me to name a player? Here's cut number 27.
We do have to call you out on something, though.
What's that?
We said earlier you can take the president out of Chicago, but you can't take Chicago out of the president. You had to pull the Sox cap out, didn't you?
Listen, I want the Nats to do well. I love them. It's great for the city, but I'm a South Side kid, and I've got to make sure that Jerry Reinsdorf doesn't get too angry with me.
And having played with the White Sox for a short time, I know how the Cubs fans and the White Sox fans go back and forth. Who was one of your favorite White Sox players growing up?
Who was one of your favorite White Sox players growing up? You ever see the Honeymooners? Humana. I was ready for him to say Ed Norton. But here's his answer. Turns out he was an Oakland A's fan. What? Here's cut number 28.
You know, I thought that, the truth is that a lot of the Cubs I like too. But I did not become a Sox fan until I moved to Chicago. Because I was growing up in Hawaii, and so I ended up actually being an Oakland A's fan.
Notice, he didn't name one White Sox player. He didn't name one Cubs player that he likes a lot of them too. And he didn't name one Oakland A's player. Folks, could you call a fraud a fraud? Can we stop the charade? Is enough enough? I guess I understand. He goes on Jay Leno. He says that Putin was the head of the KGB, and he says that the Gulf. The guy, do here. This is the best one from Leno the other day. Go to cut number 32. Let's hear 32.
Our ports, you know, the Panama Canal is being widened so that these big super tankers can come in. Now, that'll be finished in 2015. If we don't deepen our ports all along the Gulf, places like Charleston, South Carolina, or Savannah, Georgia, or Jacksonville, Florida, if we don't do that, those ships are going to go someplace else.
Charleston, Savannah, and Jacksonville. There's your Gulf of the United States. I can't even believe what I'm watching. But let's get back to the sports. Let's end the charade. Miami Heat's Kaminsky Field. Can't name a Cubs player. Can't name a White Sox player. He was an A's fan. Enough. Really. Enough. Enough. Spelled E-N-U-F-F. All right. When we come back, we're going to get a little more serious here and talk to a counterterrorism expert about, well, you're going to be shocked to hear about a terrorist that you haven't heard much about, but you'll hear it here on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you're a baby boomer or senior, please listen closely to this important message. Politicians in Washington are quietly plotting to decrease your Social Security payments drastically, and they want to do it soon. In fact, despite rising prices at the gas pump, grocery store, and doctor's office, retirees have received a mere 1.3% annual increase to their Social Security checks. Meanwhile, food stamp recipients have seen their payouts increase over 30% under the Obama administration. That's shocking. So when we stumbled upon a weird trick that could add up to $1,000 to your monthly Social Security checks, we knew we had to share it with you. To get started, simply go to SocialSecurityFree.com. Yes, it's true. You can take simple steps that could add up to $1,000 to your monthly Social Security payouts. Newsmax says SocialSecurityFree.com is a critical resource for anyone over 50. Go to SocialSecurityFree.com.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to Newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax magazine every month.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, a terrorist killed in Louisiana, and you probably haven't heard anything about it. Joining us right now is our friend John Guandolo, a counterterrorism expert, former FBI agent, and he helped create and implement the FBI's first counterterrorism training program. He's founder of UnderstandingTheThreat.com and co-author of Syria, The Threat to America. Hey, John, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on again.
Good. My pleasure. Did I get it all in on that little business card? Yeah, it must be a heck of a big business card. I didn't even get it all in, actually. Anyway, all right. So tell us about what a lot of us don't know about, and that is the fact that a Yemeni jihadi was killed in Louisiana. How is it possible that we don't know that? I mean, the American public hasn't really been told about that.
Well, it's interesting. I think what's amazing to me is over the last several years since 9/11, we've had numerous acts of jihad on American soil. And when I still meet with people, including law enforcement officials, they're not aware of many of these. And I mentioned, in the recent article that we've had a number of jihadi attacks, and I just want to, before we even get to this one, just review a couple of them. Numerous vehicular jihad, which is what we saw in Woolwich, England, when two Muslims ran over a soldier and then hacked his head off. But we've had that here. We had a guy named Mohammed Tahiri Azhar in 2006 at the University of North Carolina plow over a group of students at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And in the letters to the ABC local affiliate, he said he did what he did because it's a commandment from Allah to wage jihad. There was another guy out in Fremont, California, named Omid Papal, who killed one person and ran over 13 others with his vehicle. And people said they heard him saying Allahu Akbar while he was doing it. He was just written off as a nut.
Well, I remember, when we just had the one on Ventura on the boardwalk there, I mean, I first wanted to know. That's the first thought that came to my mind, because I know we have had these incidents in the past where, as you mentioned, in those particular ones, it's been an act of jihad. Now, what you're talking about with regard to this Louisiana, we were told about an incident, but we weren't told everything about who this man was. This was a hostage situation at a bank in Louisiana, correct?
That's right. There were 3 hostages taken, and the people were able to negotiate and get a friend of the hostage taker on the line, and he ended up releasing one of the hostages. But the interesting thing is no mention, and I went back and looked at the updated CNN reports on this. I got this from people that were on the ground at the time, from folks that I know there and from local law enforcement that contacted me before it was ever even mentioned on the news. And it took a while for even the story to break on the news. And when CNN finally picked it up, because it ended up being over a 12-hour standoff, by the time it got picked up by CNN, there's still today on their updated story no mention that this was a young man, 20-year-old Muslim of Yemeni descent. And he has a Facebook photo, which I put up on my blog at UnderstandTheThreat.com, of him sitting there, clearly not in Louisiana. Looks like a photo from Yemen with an AK-47. And yet the law enforcement officials said they were baffled that he didn't really have any demands. And of course, this is a huge investigative clue, among others, that you've got a jihadi right here, and he's not going to have a whole lot of demands other than ones you likely aren't going to be able to fulfill.
No, and we're talking to John Guandolo, a counterterrorism expert, former FBI agent here on the Steve Malzberg Show. So he he went to Yemen in this summer and then came back, and he was detained at the airport, correct?
That's correct. The FBI has confirmed, and the local police actually were the ones who confirmed for me and for the group that originally broke this story that he was detained there and then released. Never did report what he was doing in Yemen. And as you well know, Yemen is currently, and has been for a long time, a significant hotbed for al-Qaeda and jihad. And the leader of al-Qaeda in Yemen, Anwar al-Awlaki, a U.S. citizen, we recently killed him, a couple years ago. So these are all significant pieces of information, none of which have been reported, certainly by what I would say are mainstream media outlets.
And John, where is this this man right now?
So at the end of the hostage crisis, he said, I have a timeline. You don't get me these demands, I'm going to kill the hostages. So the police stormed in and they killed him. But as they did, he shot both of the hostages, and one died immediately and one ended up dying the following day.
Oh, so he did get killed. I thought so, but then I thought you said that a friend convinced him to release the hostages. Maybe I misheard. Okay, yeah.
Just release the first hostage.
Oh, I got you. Okay, I did mishear. So, all right, so he's dead, and so that makes it easy for them not to tell us much about it. It is frightening. It is scary, and everyone bends over backwards. And I could play you sound bites that I know you're well aware of from the Boston bombings, or and I'm trying to remember specifically going back even probably further than that, where the media, members of the media, openly hoping, one so far as to say, I'm praying that the perpetrator is not Muslim. So, I mean, some of them openly root in the media for the assailant or the bomber or the bad guy or the terrorist to be white, to be Christian or to be Jewish, and not to be Muslim. So, what do you expect?
I just find the disconnect from reality is what's really.
It is, John. It is a severe disconnect. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. We'll speak to you soon. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Steve. Great being on. Take care.
Thank you. My pleasure. That's John Guandolo, ladies and gentlemen, former FBI agent, counterterrorism expert here on the Steve Malzberg Show. When we come back, Howard Cosell, when we come back, we will be joined by Noel Shepard, associate editor of newsbusters.org, because it's that time. It's time for Malzberg's Media Madness. And we'll talk about Hillary. We'll talk about MSNBC selective tape editing and so much more on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show. If you need to lose weight and would like to get paid for it, that's right, I said get paid to lose weight. Just listen to the following announcement. The makers of GCE Green Coffee Bean Weight Loss are looking for real testimonials from real people and will pay you per pound to meet or exceed your weight loss goal. Until now, the secrets of green coffee's fat-burning power has been limited, but thanks to Dr. Oz, the secret is out. And now, this authentic green coffee bean fat burner is available in easy-to-take tablets. There are no expensive meals to buy or strenuous workouts. Simply take one tablet before each meal and record your progress. Only the first 200 callers are guaranteed to be accepted into the program. So if you're serious about losing extra weight and want to earn extra cash for fitting into your skinny jeans again, call 800-383-9230 now. Call 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230. Space is limited, so hurry and secure your spot today. 800-383-9230. Some conditions apply. 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, and you may be forced to watch helplessly as you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, all while your home's value is eradicated. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer believes we will soon stare down a secret crisis that will rival the Great Depression. It was Wiedemer's 2005 book, America's Bubble Economy, that warned of coming meltdowns in our housing and stock markets. Washington did not heed his call, and folks on Main Street lost $50 trillion from the recession. His New York Times best-selling book, Aftershock, predicted our federal debt and dollar would be the next bubbles to burst. And now Robert Wiedemer has released a startling video with shocking evidence the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Join us at Aftershock2013.com Aftershock2013.com.
My patients still don't know what Obamacare means for them. And how could they? There are already 13,000 pages of regulations, and the bureaucrats are just getting started. Obamacare will change your health care, and you need to understand how. There are hidden taxes and fines, big cuts in Medicare, even new regulations on what services doctors can offer you. Some businesses could get hit with a 40% additional tax on your health care plan. Please, get the Obamacare Survival Guide today. It's the best book explaining the new law. It's easy to read, everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere.
Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
I want to play something for you that Mayor Bloomberg said in his news conference today. And he was talking about stop and frisk in a way that's interesting because it recalls what President Obama said would happen had he had a son. Can you just listen to this and I'll get your response?
I think if I had a son and that son was stopped, I would have some real questions about it.
So Mayor Bloomberg is essentially saying that if he had a son and he was stopped, he would feel differently about stop and frisk. How do you respond to that, given how vigorously he and other proponents of this kind of policing have defended the practice? They're essentially admitting that if this were happening to their children, if they were happening to their sons, they wouldn't like it. Why can't they take that next step and then understand why these communities that are experiencing don't want it?
Oh, there you go again. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. That wasn't a bad Reagan, actually. I'll let Noel Shepard, Associate Editor of Newsbusters.org, decide that. Welcome, Noel. How are you?
You got to go, well.
Whale, yeah, but it wasn't a whale wasn't called for. It was there you go again because here. And welcome to the show, by the way. This was something that you exposed at Newsbusters, and it was MSNBC once again. Selectively editing something to change the meaning to make someone look like they're saying something they're not. They did it to Romney to make him look dumb. They did it to George Zimmerman, NBC did, to make him look racist. And now they did it here to Bloomberg, who is one of the creators of Stop and Frisk, a supporter of Stop and Frisk, at a news conference saying they're going to appeal the decision which banned Stop and Frisk, and they make it sound like he's against Stop and Frisk.
Yeah, I was kind of sorry this didn't get more play, and I'm glad you're bringing it up because it didn't get as much play as I expected. I'm not really sure why. This wasn't as egregious as what they did with Zimmerman, where they, in the middle of a telephone call, omitted a question. That was really disgusting. But I could make the case this is pretty bad because what occurred here is he's doing a 57-minute press conference about a big arrest that transpired in New York, and of course he's being just questioned about stop and frisk, and someone asks him about I think it was a New York magazine or a New Yorker article that he was interviewed in, where he commented about how he would feel a little bit differently about stop and frisk if he had a son. But he then went on.
Yeah, and I want to stop you there. I'm going to interrupt you. I won't say I'm not interrupting you because I am, obviously, but I'm interrupting you to play the whole cut, which you also provided at your piece in Newsbusters, to show what he actually said. I'd like to say he said it in the next breath, Noel, but he didn't even take a breath. He didn't even stop talking.
No, and what they did is they took 5 seconds of a 65-second answer.
Yep.
Of a minute, 5-second answer. They took the first 5 seconds and said, this is what he said.
Right, and here's here's the rest. Here's the whole thing, and not the whole 65, but here's what he said, again, from the beginning to where he makes his point, cut 37.
I think if I had a son and that son was stopped, I would have some real questions about it. Having said that, I think if I thought long and hard about it, I actually thought that Bill Thompson said it right. Bill Thompson said he didn't like stop and frisk, but he had a son. He wanted to make sure the kid didn't get killed. And the only way you should do that is to get guns off the streets.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, basically what he said was, if I had a son, I'd probably feel a little bit differently, but then I'd think about it. Okay? And this is the difference between thinking people and emotional people. Yes, emotionally, you can have one feeling about any kinds of subjects. But then as adults, we use our intellect to overcome our feelings, to overcome our emotions, to come to a significantly more reasoned assessment. That was his answer. But what Joy-Ann Reid and MSNBC did on Monday is they just took the emotional part. The first 5 seconds said, and this is what he's saying. No, because then he qualified it. It's really, Steve, when is MSNBC going to get seriously called out for these? I mean, this isn't it's just a 65-second answer, right? That's not a lot of tape on a 48-minute show.
Right.
And this was a fairly long segment. This was the opening segment. I think the segment went about 10 minutes.
And I didn't even just play the 65 seconds. I played maybe 25.
Maybe 30. That's right.
All right, and you got the gist of it.
That's right. No, it's really to the point now. And I don't know whether I wrote about this morning or yesterday. And actually, I think it was this morning. It was kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing about. No, it was yesterday about the Greenwald thing. What Greenwald said, and I know you want to bring this up. What Greenwald said is journalism is not a crime, or journalists are not criminals, and they're not terrorists.
Right. No, absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
But what Joy-Ann Reid and MSNBC did here in any other profession would be against the law. Okay?
Yeah.
They would not be allowed. I mean, there's not, and we've discussed this in the past, there's no industry or profession in America that would accept this kind of behavior. MSNBC gets with it now. It's you can't even say it's routine. It's almost on a weekly basis now that we're catching them in something like this.
Yeah, and of course, in the Zimmerman case, there's a lawsuit. So, it is kind of against the law if he could prove they did it. Maybe he has to prove malicious intent. I don't know, but it's hard for people to like Mitt Romney. What Mitt Romney should have done. See, here's what I think, and what do I know? But again, I keep saying if the next Republican presidential candidate and going forward, if they don't understand they're running more against the media than they are their opponent, and if they don't make issues like when they did the Wawa, which I also played yesterday, and misrepresented, made him look like an idiot, or tried to with Andrea Mitchell, and left out the whole context of what he was saying, a brilliant point that he was making, he needs to address that. He needs to say, hey, look what MSNBC did to me. Here's what I said, and here's what they played. Look what they're trying to do to me. But if they remain silent, they're going to lose.
No, and I think that's why at this point we have to be pleased with what Reince is doing, pushing back against CNN and
the chair of the RNC, yeah.
The chair of the RNC, and it appears that.
Well, let's not get to Hillary yet. Let's save. Okay. We're going to save. I want to go to Greenwald, Glenn Greenwald, whose partner was stopped, of course, at the airport by the Brits, and he was held, and they confiscated all kinds of stuff from him. And Greenwald doesn't like this too much. And of course, Greenwald writes for The Guardian. He gave Snowden the platform, etc. And here's what he had to say with Anderson Cooper last night on CNN, cut 35.
All of the best reporting over the last 40 years involves journalists having classified information. The Pentagon Papers, the Bush torture sites, CIA black sites, the illegal warrantless eavesdropping program. That's what investigative journalism is. And if you want to start criminalizing that, it means that you're asking as a citizen to be kept ignorant and to allow people in power to conceal what they're doing behind a wall of secrecy and to have no accountability or transparency. Journalism is not a crime and it is not terrorism.
All right, so it's not a crime and it's not terrorism. No, not journalism isn't. But if you're revealing, national security secrets and you're in a position where you're not a journalist or you might have something on you, he wouldn't say what his partner had confiscated from him. What do you make of his whole analysis of the situation?
Well, I have sympathy for the fox and the hound on this one because, certainly I'm not a Snowden fan by any means, but what Greenwald is doing is, in a lot of respects, pretty darn good investigative journalism. And I think that if the New York Times were doing this, if Snowden had gone to the Times, or the Washington Post was doing this, and he did go to the Washington Post, I think the people would probably have a much different feeling about the journalist that was responsible for doing the reporting. So, I'm not as antagonistic towards Greenwald as many on our side of the aisle, because I do think that he's kind of being a journalist here. I don't think he sought out Snowden. I think that this is conceivably a little bit different than, let's say, what's going on at the New York Times with Sanger, where Sanger is getting information directly from the White House and is leaking it anonymously and not saying it's coming from the White House, but everybody knows it's coming from the White House, and it was being done specifically to make Obama look like a stronger commander-in-chief. So I'm a little bit more disturbed with what Sanger was doing at the New York Times than here. You got a guy who comes to you and says, "I've got all of this information," and you're a journalist and a very, very liberal journalist, very, very progressive journalist. I have a little bit of sympathy for what he's doing. I'm not as angered by it as many.
All right, good. Let's move on to, I guess, the man who played the role of conservative on Morning Joe on Tuesday. This would be one Chris Matthews going off on Obama. And here is cut number 18. Cut number 18.
Well, Obama's problem. Let me tell you I'll tell you the problem, the Obama shortcoming, and it's quite bipartisan in assessment. It's exactly what you would say, I think. Usually politicians take a while to develop a public speaking manner to where they're really good at it. It took Churchill a long time. He had a stutter and all kinds of problems, as Joe and you guys know. And he developed a great speaking pattern. And Jack Kennedy was never a good speaker till around 1960 when he was gangbusters. He really developed a public persona. All that time in those 15 years in Kennedy's case and Roosevelt and all those people, they were developing the backroom skills, the one-on-one skills, so how you make friends, how you become class president, how you establish the loyalty of people one-on-one. The key political asset is the ability to sit in a room with 4 or 5 other people and have them accept your leadership.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how surprised were you?
I was surprised. I was not extraordinarily surprised because he's said in the past, believe it or not, that Obama does not like the dirty side of politics. He's not good at getting in the rooms with people. He doesn't want to do that. He doesn't like it. So this actually wasn't a completely novel statement by Chris. It was novel in that he was being more forceful with it, and it occurred on Morning Joe. But what's interesting here is I wish someone like Chris Matthews would do some self-actualizing and say, okay, how did I get fooled into believing that all because this was a great orator, again talking about Obama, and all because he did have the good speaking skills, that meant he had political skills and governing skills and legislative skills. That's why what you do is you look into the background of a candidate and you see what has he actually done as a legislator. And we have background on Obama as a state senator in Illinois where he did nothing, and as a junior senator in the United States Senate where he did nothing. So it really shouldn't be surprising to anybody that he doesn't have these skills because he didn't demonstrate it before. So maybe people like Chris Matthews shouldn't have been getting a thrill up their leg just because of the oratory. And that's what occurred. If you recall, Matthews first gets his thrill up the leg.
Oh, listening to Obama.
In the 2004 Democratic National Convention, when he was a keynote speaker, and as soon as he finishes, Obama that is, Matthews is saying the first words out of his mouth, "A star is born."
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? And I don't agree. I don't disagree. He's a star. But is he a politician? Can he be a leader? Can he get in touch? Can he sit down with Republicans and Democrats and iron out a bill? No.
No, he has no interest in doing so. We're talking to Noel Shepard, the associate editor of newsbusters.org here on Malzberg's Media Madness on the Steve Malzberg Show. And credit where credit's due, and it's not the first time. You made a prediction. You sensed something a week or two ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, where this Hillary movie, this Hillary documentary, NBC, CNN, the RNC chair went to the networks and said, we're going to leave you out of our debates if you dare to put these movies on around election time. And then you picked up on two members of MSNBC and Candy Crowley on CNN all at the same time. And MSNBC was the same day saying, you know, this movie isn't such a good idea. Oh, it's going to be hard for us. It's a terrible idea. And you're saying that what's going on here? Something smells rotten. It smells like a rat. It smells like, or it feels like, they're getting the word from Hillary's people that they don't want this movie made. They don't want these pieces done. And sure enough, today, you're right, report, NBC News fears retaliation from the former First Lady if the Hillary miniseries airs.
Yeah, no, I did smell a rat a couple of weeks ago, and here's the rat exposed by the Hollywood Reporter, who spoke with unnamed people within NBC News and within NBC, and one of them specifically said that they're worried about retaliation from the former First Lady. So I do think that what's transpired here is NBC and CNN decided on their own to create these programs, and the Clintons don't want it because the Clintons are concerned. There's no way. Look, we're both conservatives, but you're not going to be able to just do a 4-hour miniseries that's a total puff piece. In total, it could be a puff piece, but it can't exclusively be a puff piece. There's going to have to be stuff in there that the Clintons don't want to come out. The Clintons want now, well, to a certain extent, I'm not sure what the Clintons want to talk about.
You're right.
Because they don't really want to talk about her tenure as Secretary of State, because then you have to talk about Benghazi.
Right.
And as I'm sure you probably saw, Camille Paglia wrote an eviscerating, just destroyed.
She said that, and you wrote about this. She said that she was interviewed by Salon, and she said that Hillary disqualified herself for the presidency when she pounded her fist at the congressional hearing and said, "What difference does it make?" And I couldn't agree more. I just hope, Noel, and here's what we got to go against, getting off a little bit very quickly. Whoever our candidate is, or the Republican candidate is, don't forget what's going to come back to the fore. Remember when she ran against Rick Lazio, and Rick Lazio dared to walk across the stage and hand her something. He invaded the space of a woman. Well, how much could they go after a woman, even though the woman is Hillary Clinton, because she's going to turn into poor little Hillary Clinton in the eyes of the media if the big bad Republican candidate dares to give her a hard time.
Well, okay, but I'll counter that by saying, and I'm writing this right now, although it probably, well, anyway, this may just be notes to myself for the future. But I think that the problem that we as Republicans have made in certainly the past two presidential campaigns, and probably even going beyond, is we're becoming too intellectual a party, and we're not appealing to people's emotions. And the reality is, and I think that part of the problem is that as a party we're getting older, and meaning that the average age of the members is rising. And as people get older, they do become less emotional and do become more analytical and intellectual in their decision making. But that's not where the population is. The reason why Obama was able to win, or one of the reasons he was able to win in 2008, is he addressed people's dreams and he assuaged their fears McCain didn't do that. McCain was talking to people's intellect, and he was just way too old and not a very good candidate.
Right.
Romney did the same thing in 2012. We're trying to speak too intellectually, I think, to a mass of people that largely make buy decisions, purchases decisions, and that's when, and voting is a purchase decision. People may not think that way, but deciding who you're going to vote for is a purchase decision.
Right.
Americans right now make those decisions, I think, very emotionally. And I think we're going to have to start thinking as a party, how do we begin to appeal to people's emotions? How do we address their dreams and assuage their fears?
Yep, yep.
That's what Reagan did in 1980.
Absolutely.
He didn't necessarily speak intellectually, and he did speak intellectually, but he also teased our emotions, and he got us excited about him being president. Nobody was ever going to be excited about John McCain or Mitt Romney.
We're out of time, but as I told Michael Reagan not too long ago, I said, but your dad did not have the cable TV media to trash him every single thing he did. But anyway, we'll pick up on this. Great points, Noel. Thank you, Noel Shepard, Malzberg's Media Madness, associate editor of newsbusters.org. We're coming back, and next hour, for those of you with us, Donald Rumsfeld on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries. Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a 3rd lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. And when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts. Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. Really? They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-908-1254, 800-908-1254.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. And for those of you sticking with us, you'll be treated to Donald Rumsfeld at the top of the next hour. Lots to talk about. And by the way, Bob Kuchenberg. See, I will admit when I was wrong and when I couldn't remember or didn't know, and he's one of the 3 Miami Dolphins who did not show up at the White House from the 72 undefeated team. And you know what I just heard? You NFL fans out there? You NFL fans out there, good news. There is a chance that the NFL games in the NFL package will be shown on YouTube. YouTube. How do you like that? How would you like to be walking around, go anywhere you want? You don't have to sit home. You can watch any NFL game you want on YouTube on your handheld device. That's the next best thing since the Newsmax TV app. I mean, what do they think of next? But we thought of the Newsmax TV app long before YouTube thought of getting the NFL games. I promise you that. All right. We're going to also talk next hour with Charlie Hurd about instant replay in Major League Baseball next year. What a disaster that's going to be. On the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Do you owe the IRS? Do you have unfiled tax returns? Have you received a wage garnishment or bank levy? Maybe a lien has been filed against you. OMG Tax can help you with all your IRS tax problems. Don't wait another second. Take action now. Call my team at OMG Tax. Honest and professional, we don't make false promises. If you owe back taxes, or if the IRS is garnishing your paycheck, you need help now. OMG Tax can help you get your life back to normal. If you're serious about handling your tax matter, call OMG Tax now and get the peace of mind you deserve. Don't let the IRS take your next paycheck. Stop waiting and call our team at OMG Tax. OMG Tax has a straightforward, no-nonsense approach and has helped many Americans resolve their IRS nightmare. Call OMG Tax now.
Call 1-800-255-6485. That's 1-800-255-6485. 800-255-6485.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect. With higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. Today, Syrian rebels are claiming the government launched a poisonous gas attack that killed hundreds of people. The rebels posted videos to YouTube showing rows of bodies they claim were killed in an artillery and rocket attack on rebel areas in the eastern suburbs of Damascus. Syria State TV denies the claims, but chemical weapons experts say the lack of obvious external injuries and the frozen appearance of the victims in those videos suggests chemical weapons were in fact used.
We have hundreds of people who've been killed overnight. The situation is extremely dire.
Well, the UN has deployed a team of experts to Syria to investigate claims of chemical weapons use by government forces. But in order to inspect the site of today's alleged attack, the head weapons instructor says the Syrian government would have to agree, and they have not done that. An Army private, Bradley Manning, will serve 35 years in a military prison for leaking classified information to the website WikiLeaks. Manning was sentenced today. He was facing a potential 90-year sentence for handing over more than 700,000 Iraqi and Afghanistan battlefield reports and diplomatic cables from the State Department while he worked as an intelligence analyst in Iraq in 2010. Manning has been called both a traitor and a whistleblower. Protesters gathered outside Fort Meade, where Manning was sentenced today, calling for his release. Of course, that won't happen. And a 20-year-old man now is in jail after police say he walked into a Metro Atlanta elementary school with an AK-47 and then opened fire on police. The shooting forced the evacuation of 800 students and staff at the Ronald McNair Discovery Learning Academy in DeKalb County outside of Atlanta. The suspect, Michael Brandon Hill, ordered the school's office staff to call a local TV station. The police were also called in, and when they arrived, Hill opened fire.
He possibly fired as anywhere from half a dozen shots when he fired out of the building at police officers that were approaching the scene. And when officers had a clear shot, they returned fire. Fortunately, no one was injured. After that shootout, Hill surrendered. Police say he was able to walk through an open door behind someone who did have authorized access to the school. And police say 3 Oklahoma teens decided to shoot and kill 22-year-old Christopher Lane because they were bored. 2 of the boys, 15 and 16 years old, were both charged with first-degree murder. A third, a 17-year-old, was charged as an accessory. Lane was jogging near his girlfriend's home last Friday when he was shot in the back in broad daylight. And coming up next on your Newsmax Now update, wildfires spread out across 11 states. Are national firefighting resources now too thin to keep everyone safe? Plus, a Newsmax exclusive with Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen. Her reaction to the State Department decision not to discipline the officials originally held responsible for their terror attack in Benghazi.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
Obamacare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know Obamacare is to survive Obamacare. The Obamacare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital.
Reports keep coming, the shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free. The only 1.5 ounce coin on the market. It's minted with the finest silver, carries a government guarantee, and is eligible for IRAs. The silver polar bear is available exclusively from Lear Capital. But don't wait. Silver supplies are shrinking and availability is not guaranteed. This offer is limited to a minimum purchase of $5,000. Call right now. 800-634-0482. 800-634-0482. Call Lear Capital now. 800-634-0482.
And welcome back. Resources may be stretched too thin in the West, where at least 47 wildfires are burning this day in 11 states. One of the biggest is the Beaver Creek fire near Sun Valley, Idaho. After 2 weeks of battling the blaze, firefighters feel they may have gained control of the fire. It is now 31% contained and is no longer a danger to most of the homes in that area. And during a Newsmax exclusive interview, Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen, a member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, reacts to the news that all the State Department officials previously disciplined for the terror attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi have all now been cleared and ordered back to work.
It is unbelievable. If it were not happening, if this were not the truth, I would say this belongs in a Ripley's Believe It or Not.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for August 21st. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show in New York.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to hour number 3 of the Steve Malzberg Show. We are joined right now, once again, I'm very proud to say, by the former Secretary of Defense of the United States, Donald Rumsfeld. Hello, Mr. Secretary. How are you?
Well, just fine, Steve.
That's good. You enjoying the summer?
Oh, we have been enjoying it. I'm out in Twin Bridges, Montana, and the sun is glorious. The weather's perfect.
Well,
life's good.
That's great, and I'm glad to hear you say life's good. You deserve it. It seems like just yesterday you were sitting here in the studio, but the months go by. How's Rumsfeld's Rules doing?
Well, it's doing very well, and it's been a lot of fun to write. I've been collecting those over many, many decades, and President Ford finally talked me into putting them together, and I decided to actually write a book about them. And it's been a lot of fun. Got a lot of very nice comments.
Well, I've been standing up ever since you left, sir. Doing all my work standing up.
Listen, I was doing that before anyone told me it was good for your health.
Yeah, well, God bless you. That's why, you know, my father, may he rest in peace, and he passed at 90, but, you know, he always used to complain, I'm on my feet day and night. I'm on my feet day and night, and he walked and he walked. He didn't have a car, and you know what? He lived to be 90, so there's some good in that.
Well, I'm 81 now, so I'm heading for 90.
God bless you, and I'm sure you'll make that and surpass it. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the things going on in the world today. Too bad there's really nothing happening, but we could find some things to talk about. The president was supposed to have a cabinet meeting today. I don't know if he actually had it, to discuss aid to Egypt. I know you've weighed in on this, but it appears that there were reports yesterday that the administration had unilaterally begun to cut off some of the aid to the Egyptian military. If you were in that cabinet meeting today, what would you have told the president?
Well, I would have argued forcefully that the single most important relationship we currently have in the Middle East is probably the U.S. military-to-military relationship with the Egyptian military. And I say that because Egypt's the most important country. It is the biggest. It is a country that is kind of the educational center for the Arab world. We have an excellent relationship. They have been the anchor in the stability with their Camp David Accord agreement with Israel. The Muslim Brotherhood is a authoritarian theocracy. They're the ones who killed Sadat. They are determined to eliminate the concept of the nation state. They don't believe in democracy. They don't believe in tolerance. There are attacks taking place on other religious faiths in that country. And the idea that we should cut off aid to the military, or that we should be supportive of the Muslim Brotherhood, and the people in Egypt believe we have been supportive of the Muslim Brotherhood because we were eager for early elections, totally ignoring the reality that Adolf Hitler was elected in an election and then tried to consolidate power. And he did successfully and caused a war.
So
Morsi's been trying to consolidate power, and the people of Egypt have opposed it.
So why is it, do you think? I mean, there have been theories bandied about, but why is it that this administration, even before they went to bat for Morsi, and even before in the aftermath of Morsi's demise, they've sent senators there, McCain and Graham, and said, hey, the Brotherhood has to be included in the process. What's this obsession? What's this favoritism towards the Muslim Brotherhood by the Obama administration?
Well, I don't know. I can't explain it. The president started out with an attitude, a viewpoint. And he made that trip around the Middle East and believed that by apologizing and talking to them that everything could be nice and warm and fuzzy. Right now, the Middle East is in turmoil. Over 100,000 people have been killed in Syria. There are problems in the Sudan, in Mali, and country after country after country. And the Egyptian military have been the source of stability in that country. People were starving in that country because of month after month of riots and disorder and violence in the streets. Tourism has totally stopped. Somebody has to step up. And I mean, think what Abraham Lincoln did during the Civil War. He imposed martial law and suspended habeas corpus. He had to, otherwise the United States wouldn't have been orderly. It wouldn't have been able to function.
Well, don't give Obama any ideas, because he fancies himself as Lincoln. So don't give him any ideas.
He's about as far from that as I can imagine.
Absolutely, absolutely. Would you say that Obama? Yeah, here's the thing. Obama recently said we don't take sides. Now, when it's good and bad, black and white, evil or good, you know what I mean? When it's obvious, as it appears to be to you and it is to me, how do you don't take sides when, in fact, just in the last few years, Obama said Mubarak must go. Obama said Gaddafi must go. Has been saying for a year and a half, 2 years, Assad must go. So we do take sides. So again, why won't he take sides against the Muslim Brotherhood?
I don't know. I mean, you think back. I think Secretary Kerry, the Secretary of State, has really been dealt an enormously difficult hand. He is faced with a series of bad policies and bad actions by the Hillary Clinton State Department and the Obama White House over a period of 4.5 years, and suddenly he's Secretary of State, and here is this terrible mess. And all the momentum is in the wrong direction. One of the reasons I suppose you need not take sides is if your influence is zero. and the behavior of the Obama administration has been to create a leadership vacuum in the world. And that vacuum is being filled by people who don't have our values, who don't have our interests. And if that country turns into a civil war and the Suez Canal is closed, or the Muslim Brotherhood breaches the agreement with Israel, he's going to wish he had taken sides.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking to Donald Rumsfeld here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Let me shift gears over to Syria and the accusations today by the rebels that the Assad government used chemical weapons or some kind of gas, and there's 1,200, 1,500 dead. We've seen pictures of a morgue on CNN and other cable stations. The UN Security Council held an emergency meeting today, or they were scheduled to about an hour ago. It was a year ago, to this day, that Obama stood up on August 21st of 2012 and said, if we see chemical weapons moving around, or if they're used, That would be a red line. That would change my, my whole landscape. And of course, we've had many reports of chemical weapons. So I don't know that we know who's using them, but this guy's done nothing. Not that I want him to, but I'm just saying we talk. They do, and we keep talking.
Well, that's true. It's a sad state of affairs that when the United States says something or does something, it has an effect where that action has taken. But the other thing it has is an effect all over the world, because other countries look at us and say, well, the president said this and he's not following it up. Well, he either shouldn't have said it or he ought to follow it up, because he's sending a signal that America is withdrawing, that America is in decline, that the contribution to a more peaceful and stable world that the United States has provided during my adult lifetime is over, that the United States is in decline. Why else would Vice President Biden have to stand up and say we're not in decline?
Yeah.
I mean, that says we are in decline, because people know it, they smell it, they can feel it.
What do we do? What should be done with this latest accusation? I mean, I don't even know. There are inspectors on the ground. They have a limited mandate. I don't know if they could even address today's alleged attack by whomever did it. So how do we know what's going on in Syria, and how should we respond to 12 or 1,500 dead people when we don't even know for sure who did it?
Well, you have to get the facts, that's for sure. And the other thing you have to be realistic about is the United Nations can have all the meetings they want, but they're not going to do anything.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. And of course, with Russia, who has already come forward and say that it's propaganda from the rebels. So even if we found something out, they just put the kibosh on it.
Yeah. Now, clearly the Iran and Syria's relationship with Russia is clear. And they're very close, and they have contributed to terrorist funding and terrorist acts around the world to our detriment.
One more for you, Mr. Secretary, and that involves Bradley Manning. We had a judge today, a military judge, who gave Bradley Manning, convicted of espionage and other accounts, 35 years. Of course, he could have gotten 90. And he will only get between 8 and 10, even though it's 35, because his time served is about 4, and then he's eligible for parole after serving 1/3. And by my count, it's 10, but I've seen it written over and over that it's 8, so I don't know if it's the new math that I'm not following or something. But either way, what kind of message does this send to future Snowdens, future Mannings, if this guy could get out of jail in 8 to 10 years?
Well, I haven't followed the case, but there's no question but that he signed documents agreeing to keep classified information confidential, and he violated it. And he did it to the great detriment of our country. He did it to the danger of the men and women who serve in uniform. He did it to the damage, considerable damage, of our efforts with respect to foreign policy and defense policy. And he deserves to be punished seriously. The idea of someone who engaged in that kind of action, harmful to the United States of America and to the American people, getting out in a relatively short period is certainly a signal to others that they can get away with murder.
Do you follow the political landscape? I mean, the government shutdown. Should the Republicans defund Obamacare? But if they do, they might be blamed for shutting the government down. I mean, you follow all that kind of thing on a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis, at least, or?
Well, I'm out in Montana.
So they don't have any of that out there.
I don't get the newspapers, and I've listened to the radio and watched some news, but basically the difficulty that the Republicans have is that the mainstream media is the trumpet through which all their actions occur. And if they, on the one hand, are cast as shutting down the government, it will be harmful to them. If, on the other hand, they're cast as asking for a delay in the implementation of Obamacare until it could be better understood, until we can find out why all of the so-called proponents, including congressmen and unions, are asking to be exempt from it, Until we can sort out all those things, it shouldn't be implemented. And if we're carried in a rational way like that, then I think the American people would be supportive of Republicans attempting to not allow the funding of Obamacare.
In your first few words, your realization about the media and their coverage and how they're the prism that shapes public opinion. I've said all along that if Republican presidential candidates don't understand that they're not only running against their opponent, but they're running more so against the media, and they have to be more confrontational, if not combative, with that slanted coverage, they're not going to win again. And you hit it right on the head, but there are so many, the advisors, the people who run those campaigns, for McCain and Romney anyway, they don't get it.
Well, I think the McCain campaign was one of the worst campaigns I've seen in years. I felt the Romney campaign, that he would have been a very good president, but it was just unfortunate the way the media carried the debates, for example.
Absolutely.
I mean, they put their thumb on the scale.
Yeah, and Candy Crowley in particular with that Benghazi nonsense. Yeah,
unbelievable what she did.
Listen, sir, I could talk to you for hours, and thank you so much for coming on. I look forward to our next conversation.
I look forward to it, too. Thanks so much
you.
for your hospitality.
My pleasure, Mr. Secretary. That's Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld, two-time former Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. You want to weigh in on he's so right. He gets it. He gets it. He gets what McCain's people didn't get, what Romney's people didn't get, and what I fear the next candidate's people won't get. The media, the media, the media. And how they McCain destroyed his own campaign, but the media destroyed Romney. How many people have you heard say that? Oh, Romney stunk. Romney was a bad candidate. Romney this, Romney that. Yeah, to an extent. But the media called him the gaffe candidate. Hey, what about your latest gaffe, Governor Romney? Come on. Why doesn't Donald Rumsfeld take on a new career and run the campaign of the next Republican presidential candidate? All right, we're coming back. 855-777-9660 on the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hey guys, do you know your testosterone level? You should. Each year, declining testosterone robs more of your energy, drive, motivation, and even your ability to perform in bed. Take control of your testosterone today. Write this number down because Progene, the leader in dual-action testosterone supplements, is now giving you a free supply if you call today at 800-592-4834. If you'd like to feel closer to 20 than 40 and get back that energy, drive, and confidence, call now to try Progene risk-free. Don't believe us? We'll even prove it works. Ask about our at-home testosterone test kits and see for yourself what Progene can do for you. Be one of the next 100 callers. We'll triple your order and send you a full 1-month supply of Progene for free. A $70 value for only the cost of shipping and handling. Call 800-592-4834 for details. Know your level and kick your drive back into gear with Progene. Call 800-592-4834. That's 800-592-4834. Again, 800-592-4834.
You've heard the allegations on the news, and during the big game, pro football players have been using deer antler velvet to get a competitive edge. Banned at the London Games for its performance-enhancing qualities. Forbidden in major sports leagues for being an unfair advantage to athletes. Deer antler velvet is now in stock and available to try for free for a limited time only. Athletes have been using it for years for increased strength, increased endurance, muscle mass stress reduction, and yes, greatly enhanced libido. Everyone's talking about this miracle substance so powerful, it's being banned by professional sports organizations, but for a limited time, it's being made available to the general public. Best of all, you can try it for free by calling 800-678-5153. That's right, get Superior Velvet for free. If you're looking to boost your performance on the field and between the sheets, get the most powerful, proven product used by athletes for years now for free. Claim your free bottle today by calling 800-678-5153. That's 800-678-5153. Again, 800-678-5153.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the two main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time radio offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
Drug, alcohol, and gambling addiction can be devastating for you and your loved ones. Don't let the disease of addiction ruin everything you've worked so hard for. The Treatment Helpline has helped thousands of people just like you take control of their addictions and live healthier, cleaner, and happier lives. You are not alone. Now there's hope. The Treatment Helpline has helped people just like you overcome their addiction. If you or a loved one is suffering from a drug, alcohol, or gambling addiction, let us help you today. Call 1-800-813-9821. Our seasoned addiction treatment professionals can show you how to use your private health insurance to help cover the costs of this life-changing program. Call now and get a free confidential consultation. 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821. Help is only a phone call away. Call 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821.
Sure, Steve might be a bit of a hypochondriac, but he never gets sick of breaking news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Call Steve at 1-855-777-9660. That's 1-855-777-9660. Here's Steve.
It is just so true. I never get sick of breaking news. That is absolutely true. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll be joined by Charles Hurt of the Washington Times, and he wrote a great piece about how the instant replay rules that are going to take effect next year in Major League Baseball, how that's going to supply. What did he say exactly? He calls it the next step in the whining of America. That's true. I mean, we'll talk about that. We got a lot to talk about with Charles. But this is something we haven't touched on, and we will with him. The NSA has declassified 3 secret U.S. court opinions. You know, the secret court. They declassified 3 opinions today showing how the NSA, scooped up as many as 56,000 emails and other communications by Americans who had no connection to terrorism, and this took place over 3 years. 3 years. And there's stories all over how the NSA has the ability, much more widespread than we ever imagined. They collected thousands of internet communications, as I said, with no terror connection. They can spy on 75% of online traffic. They retain the content of emails between citizens, domestic phone calls made via the internet. Homeland Security is testing a face scanner. I'm telling you, this from an administration that tells us that our only threat is this group called Al-Qaeda and that they're on the run and they're decimated. This from an administration that won't stick a terrorist's head underwater to save a school building. But they have no trouble collecting all this data on people who have nothing to do with terrorism. All right, we are coming back with I got to stop the bad Cosell imitation. We're coming back with Charlie Hurt. I love talking to Rumsfeld. Of the Washington Times, right here. 855-777-9660, the Steve Malzberg Show on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates or low minimum payments, and before you know it, you owe thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It has happened to millions of good people just like you. But here's the good news. Thanks to a powerful program now approved, anyone with $2,000 or more in credit card debt can cut their credit card payments up to half and even reduce or eliminate interest charges altogether. That's right. Our nationwide nonprofit program is helping U.S. residents cut their credit card payments. Call 800-613-3159 now. The call and information are free. We've helped over 500,000 people with their credit card debt, and now we can help you. Call 800-613-3159 to see how this powerful nonprofit program can work for you. Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Get free of credit card debt today. Call 800-613-3159. That's 800-613-3159. Again, 800-613-3159.
Hello, my name is Fred Fleitz, and I'm the managing editor of LigNet. You've probably seen our name preceding some of the stories you read on Newsmax or heard LigNet referenced on Fox News, C-SPAN, or CNN. Perhaps you've asked yourself, what is LigNet? LigNet is an acronym for the Langley Intelligence Group Network, a private Washington, D.C. based service that provides global intelligence, in-depth analysis, and detailed forecasting. LigNet staff and advisors include former CIA officers, national security experts, presidential advisors, and top-level government officials from around the world. I myself held several national security posts for the U.S. government during my 25-year career with the Central Intelligence Agency, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the U.S. Department of State, and the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. Our lead advisor is General Michael Hayden, the former director of the CIA. He is joined by former U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations John Bolton and former chairman of the National Intelligence Council and Special Assistant to President Ronald Reagan Fritz Ehrmann, former U.S. Ambassador to Venezuela Otto Reich, and former clandestine service officer Frederick Russman. Former chairman of the House Intelligence Committee Peter Hoekstra also joined our advisory board staff. Every day, our goal is to use our expertise, our resources, and our worldwide staff to take the pulse of the ever-changing political and economic landscape and the threats we face on a daily basis. Whether you are following global events for your portfolio or business, or just interested in the world around you, LigNet provides what you need to know to keep up with global events. There are many. Every day, LigNet members receive the Morning Brief, a daily email that provides summaries and links to our daily analysis to keep you up to date on LigNet's assessments. LigNet members receive unrestricted access to LigNet's secure database of global analysis. All of our special reports, previous analyses, and exclusive video interviews with intelligence insiders are available to members 24 hours a day. But you also get top-notch analysis that resembles the President's Daily Brief, the classified intelligence assessment delivered to the President of the United States every morning. LigNet also sends breaking news emails to our membership list. If there is a development of global proportions or a terror alert, our subscribers are always the first to know. I hope you now have a better understanding of what LigNet is, but more importantly, recognize how truly invaluable LigNet can be. As the old saying goes, knowledge is power.
Join LigNet for $1. Go to lignet.com.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show. No. This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard the expression, it's the end of the world as we know it. You've heard the song by the same name, I guess. Well, how about it's the end of America? America is now officially over. Who says so? Our next guest, Charles Hurt, Washington Times columnist. Hello, sir.
Howdy, Steve.
Great to talk to you. I was so happy to see your column today because I've been feeling all along like I'm a lone voice. Every sports talk show I put on, we have the technology. Oh, it's progress. What are you, in the Stone Ages? And what we're talking about, of course, is that Major League Baseball next year will expand the use of instant replay to where they give 2 challenges in the first 6 innings and then I think 2 more in the next 2 innings or 3 innings. I can't believe they're doing it, and you wrote a brilliant piece today on it in the Washington Times.
But I mean, it's amazing. In my understanding of it is, if the manager gets each complaint right, then they keep getting more complaints. So if you're really good at it, if you're like the Al Sharpton of baseball managers, you can complain about every single call that gets made.
Yeah, you keep going. You get bonuses for being right. You get penalized for being wrong.
Yeah, and I have to admit that I'm a late. I've come to baseball as a later in life. Actually, with my children, my young children, learning to play baseball, and learning it as an adult. I came to appreciate just how incredibly valuable baseball is in teaching children that life is not fair. And there are things that don't go your way, and everybody tries to make it fair and tries to make it go your way, but you have to minimize when unfairnesses happen. You have to minimize them, and you have to put them aside and move on and focus on winning the game or winning whatever it is you're doing. And this upends all of that, because forever baseball has been about walking it off. But now that we have institutionalized a method of complaining and whining about what we perceive are unfair calls, I think it just completely, totally perverts baseball away from what you and I love about it.
It does, and of course, balls and strikes will be off. You can't you can't do that. You can't approach a ball and strike call. That can't be replayed. But
I don't know why. Why stop there? Why not go ahead and just set up remove the umpire and
put a machine there. Put a machine. It beeps when it's a strike, and it's a computer, and there's no mistakes. You're absolutely right. And here's the thing. It happens in as you point out in your column. It happens in football. In hockey, if there's a disputed goal, it goes to Toronto. There's some guy or guys sitting in Toronto, and they have TVs with all the games on it, and they view the replay over and over, and they make the decision. We've gotten to timeouts now in the NBA, where replay timeouts, where you could challenge a certain point, and it's so unfair. You know how valuable timeouts are in basketball. Well, you could challenge, and it gives that team that might need a timeout. And we've gone completely nuts. And now I say to everybody, I'm a purist. I don't like the designated hitter. I like the pitcher batting. And here you got the human element being taken out of this game. It's made by people who make mistakes. It's made by people who, they're great. If they fail 7 out of 10 times, they're still considered great hitters. So if an umpire makes a mistake, live with it. Move on. No, we have to go to the instant replay. It's going to kill the game.
Yeah, and I get kind of confused about how exactly they're going to do it, because of course the umpires aren't going to, as you point out, it goes to New York. They're not going to leave the field and the way they do when they do the replay on say a ball, whether a ball goes out of the stadium or not.
Right.
So what does that mean? Are umpires now going to be wearing those goofy headphones and earpieces? Are they going to, or is it going to be like hockey, where they stick the telephone receiver through the
through the little hole, the photographer's hole?
Yeah, and then word from Oz is going to be sort of passed down, and then that the whole nature that you're going outside of the stadium. The stadium is a really it's such a beautiful spot where the rest of the world doesn't invade. You're not Democrats, you're not Republicans, you're not liberal, everybody's just there because they love this extraordinary game, and all the outside forces slip away. But suddenly we are now all going to be sitting there waiting for the perceived truth to come down from New York City to see whether or not the outfielder caught the ball.
And by the way, Charles, I know a lot of people have been clamoring because baseball games are much too short. So this will lengthen the games because we need more time spent in baseball games,
Yeah. And you watch, Steve. I'll bet you any amount of money, Steve, that somehow or another MLB will figure out a way to make this, shall we call it, an advertising
I knew you were going to say that. Look, you listen to any baseball game, and you're new to it, so I don't know how many you watch, but everything is sponsored. The pitching change is sponsored. The lineup is sponsored. The scoreboard is sponsored, and they're different scoreboards. Everything. They're going to say this video replay, maybe not MLB, maybe MLB, but maybe the team, certainly the broadcast. This instant replay timeout is brought to you by, and I could come up with something right now, some video company or whatever. But you know it. You know it.
When they do the pitching change, at least at National Stadium, when they do the pitching change, it's always brought to you by UPS. Okay, like they're delivering a package out.
They should drive them in a UPS truck.
Yeah, and so this will be some sort of, it'll be brought to you by a laxative or something like that. It's something to give you a little more, just a little pause in the game here.
Oh, gosh, it's bad news. I'm not looking forward to it at all, not at all. And it's bad enough in the World Series and stuff. And people say, don't you want to get it right? No, I mean, yes, but it's a game played by humans. Just have you know what? Let's have the computer matchups of these games. That you know how that works. We could find out who's supposed to win the Super Bowl based on what the computer says. Let's have every baseball game or the computer game instead of humans.
Exactly. Why don't we? I mean, these danged players. They're not perfect. Let's just replace all the players with robots.
Yeah,
they won't make mistakes.
No steroids. No steroids either.
Yeah, we won't because they'll be so good we won't even need steroids.
Yeah, that's true.
I think we're onto something here.
We might be, and your kids. Let me ask you. I know you have young kids. Do they play? Do they have a winning team and a losing team when they play?
Oh, you better believe it.
All right. Well, how old are they? How old are they?
They're 7. The boys are 7 and 9.
All right, 9 I could see, but I didn't know if 7. My son started travel at 7, but I know that there's T-ball, and then even the first level up after T-ball, I remember. So I guess he was 6 or so. You just run around the base, everybody gets on, nobody gets out, nobody wins, nobody loses. That was awful. Awful.
Yeah, I got lucky and we missed all that. But what was tough was when they started, they were on both of them were on a really, really good team, and they won every game. And they really worked at it. But it was a little disturbing to me because that's not exactly life. And then I guess it was last year or maybe the year before, they wound up on teams that would lose, and they would lose a lot, and it was a wonderful experience for them. Because they were so disappointed when they would lose.
Absolutely.
They would hold themselves to standards, and they knew that it didn't really matter whether they lost, but they had standards and they wanted to win, and it didn't kill them to lose.
Yes, no, hey, and it's healthy. It's healthy to feel victory. It's healthy to feel defeat. No, none of this nonsense where nobody, nothing's kept. We don't keep score. We don't keep averages. We don't give game balls because we don't want to offend anybody. But that's a rarity what you're saying, because in a lot of jurisdictions, even an old Everyone Loves Raymond that I was watching, which had to be made almost 20 years ago or 15, 20 years ago, they had a whole episode about how the kids, no scores kept, nobody wins, nobody's out, nobody's safe, just crazy stuff. We're all nuts, Charles. We're all nuts.
Yeah. And the sad thing about it is that these parents and people, they think that they're somehow doing these children a favor or something, and what they're doing actually is setting them up for a crushing disappointment about life, and a crushing disappointment when they realize that they're actually terrible at what they have been deluded into thinking they're good at all their lives.
No, absolutely. So beside the great piece that you wrote, we're talking to Charles Hurt here on the Steve Malzberg Show, Washington Times. We've had some news today, certainly on a lot of fronts. We had Manning sentencing. We had the Syrian chemical attack. But I'd also like to talk about this NSA and the revelations that are posted on Drudge. The headlines, just look at the headlines. NSA collected thousands of internet communications with no terror connection. NSA can spy on 75% of online traffic. NSA retains content of emails between citizens. And if NSA domestic phone calls made via internet, I guess they spy on the domestic phone calls made via internet, and Homeland Security is now testing for a face scanning kind of thing.
How creepy is that?
Every day it gets creepier. Now look, I'm all for security, but I think I've said this to you in the past. If our government is not willing to take a known terrorist face and stick it underwater if it might save American lives to get information, yet they're willing to collect all this information on me. I don't buy that.
Yeah, that's a great point. They really are trying to kind of have it both ways, and it's crazy. But the other thing is, I agree with you. I'm not sure. I mean, I love to I think it's important for people like you and me to kick up a storm whenever these stories come out about the degrees to which the NSA is going to collect our information, domestic surveillance. And I don't know, I know that there are arguments that can be made that those things are very important and they're very valuable. Well, that's fine. Maybe they are. But if they're not able to explain to dumb guys like you and me why they need this information, then they shouldn't be gathering it. And, we can understand it if they lay it out there. But the Obama administration has done absolutely nothing to try to convince people that this is as important as they seem to think it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely nothing is correct, and it goes every day. It gets worse and worse. One final thing here: what's your take on the sentencing of Manning? You talk about truth in sentencing. 35 years. The prosecution in the trial wanted 60. He could have got 90, so he gets 35. He gets 4 off because he served 4 already, basically. He's been in captivity for 4, and he only has to serve 1/3 of the sentence. So he's going to be out. They say 8 years. I don't know how they get 8 out of that, but to me it's 10. But either way, a slap on the wrist for what he did. He'll be 32 years old. He'll be walking around.
Yeah, no, it really is extraordinary. And again, if all of this, this surveillance stuff is so important to our security, and I'm not saying it's not. It very well may be, but if it is, then you have to take things like this very, very seriously, because this is the kind of stuff that goes to the heart of what this whole intelligence gathering and maintenance program is all about. And the same goes for Snowden. If they can't do a better job of first of all giving a guy like that the kind of access that he had to information, but then also to just so miserably fail at figuring out how to deal with him after the fact, they've got to get serious about it.
Yeah. All right, Charles, as always, it's a pleasure to talk to you, my friend. Keep playing ball with those kids, and we'll speak to you next week.
Sounds great, Steve. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Charles Hurt, ladies and gentlemen, of the Washington Times, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm looking here. I'm seeing Gallup unemployment spikes to 8.9%. I'm just looking around at various stories here. We did some dog stories earlier. Well, a dog story, two angles to it, about Obama's new dog, Sonny. And I see that there's a story here that 50,000 abandoned dogs are roaming Detroit in packs. There are 50,000 dogs that are, not all one pack, obviously. They're not like all at Yankee Stadium or anything. Anyway, but there's almost more dogs than people. People are dwindling. Humans are dwindling in Detroit, and can you blame them? And dogs are roaming the streets. And this is a United States city. This is America, and this is happening. I'm sorry, whoever's fault it is, however it's happening, I can't help but believe that if Detroit and the state of Michigan and the administration were all Republican, there'd be a lot more focus on what's going on in this city of Detroit and the bankruptcy. And if it were a Republican president who had promised that he will not abandon Detroit, and this is what Detroit turned into, you would have heard a lot more about it. Also, you'd be hearing a lot more about it. I know there's a lot going on, but this is just, I can't even believe what I'm reading. I really can't. Anyway, you want to weigh in on any of this? How do you feel about the instant replay in baseball next year? I told you it's going to stink. Who the heck needs a longer baseball game? I love baseball, but I don't want to wait while they go to New York and look at the instant replay and check. Enough. If he was out and they called him safe, if it was fair and they called it foul, it happens. You know what? That's what baseball's been up until now. So keep baseball what it's been up until now. Okay? Keep it. Like I said, this is a game where 70% failure as a hitter makes you a great, great, great hitter. So you explain it to me. You explain it to me. All right, folks. We're coming back. One final segment left in the hour on the Steve Malzberg Show right here on Newsmax TV.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Obama wants your money, and he's determined to get it. He wants your money to buy off unions, his Wall Street cronies, and to expand the Obama welfare nation. Well, Swiss America is determined to stop him from stealing your money. They want to send you an award-winning film, I Want Your Money, on DVD that exposes his plan. It'll help keep the government's hands off your money using gold, silver, and other hard asset strategies to protect your hard-earned money. Call today and request the DVD, I Want Your Money, normally $19.95, yours absolutely free. Let Swiss America show you how to use gold, silver, and other hard assets to protect your hard-earned money. Call now. 800-978-3907. 800-978-3907. Call Swiss America right now. Learn all about investing in gold. 800-978-3907. That's 800-978-3907. Call right now.
Obamacare. President Obama's massive health care law is taking effect this year. With over 15,000 pages of regulations, few even know what it means. Now, the Obamacare Survival Guide by Nick Tate gives you the shocking facts about this law. It's a step-by-step guide on how you can protect yourself. Already the New York Times bestseller, every American needs to get the Obamacare Survival Guide and find out about the new taxes, hidden fees, fines, Medicare changes, business rules, and why doctor shortages are likely. Donald Trump says the Obamacare Survival Guide is a must-read for anyone worried about getting good health care for themselves or their employees. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's at bookstores, or get our special offer at Obamacare911.com and you'll save $15. Go now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, the Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price.
Scroll down now to claim your copy of Obamacare Survival Guide for the special internet offer of only $4.95.
This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks, and I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. You can finally have that room you've always wanted with our total basement finishing system. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again.
Call now for your free basement inspection at 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. Learn how to waterproof your basement now. Call this number, 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794.
I love you, son, so it hurts when you say I hate you. I'm your mother. I'm tired of you disrespecting me when you don't get your way. I work hard to make sure you have everything you need. I should be able to ask you to get out of bed in the morning without a fight. So from now on, things are going to be different. I ordered the Total Transformation Program. We're not going to scream and fight anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do in a different way, and you're going to do it. You're not going to call me ugly names anymore, and if you do, you're going to get consequences that'll keep you from calling me ugly names. We're not going to do things your way anymore, son. We're going to do things the Total Transformation way.
Get the Total Transformation free. Just order the program, tell us how it works for you, and you can keep it for free. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520. Call now. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream is streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
All right, I am your captain. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. Let me give you a little tip about tomorrow's show. I mean, the lineup even impresses me, and I'm very hard to impress. First of all, Senator Rand Paul will be here. Second of all, Governor Rick Perry of the great state of Texas will be here. Third of all, Kendall Coffey will go spinning the law. And this is not in order of importance or anything. Christina Hoff Sommers, who has updated her wonderful book called The War Against Boys. And she is the author of Who Stole Feminism. She is iconic. She is a master at what she does and what she believes. And you got to hear Christina Hoff Sommers. Can't wait to talk to her. It's been several years. Also on tomorrow's show, Terry Jones. Terry Jones, who is planning to burn 3,000 more Qurans on September 11th. And he's meeting a lot of opposition. And, of course, I don't know if he'll go through with it. But the big debate is, should he go through with it? Because you know what's going to happen in parts of the Muslim world. Now, I make this analogy. I would never burn a Quran, okay? But you remember, I'm sure a lot of you don't. So I'll just say, Saturday Night Live back in April around Easter time did this mock pilot, what do they call it? Trailer for a film, for a make-believe film about Jesus. Like, he's back, and Jesus comes back, and he's got a machine gun, and he's mowing down all the peasants. He's mowing down all the people. He's chopping people's heads off, you know. Now, let's just say two Christians decided to go to Rockefeller Center or take it out, go in the lobby of NBC and start shooting people, God forbid. Do you think the media, the president, the world would say, well, NBC has their blood on their hands because they put out that trailer against Jesus, that mock trailer, even though it was comedy or whatever? Or do you think that the media and the world would say, those evil Christians, how many more of them are there? What are they doing? How dare they? Okay? But so why is it that if Terry Jones burns the Quran and people rape and pillage and murder in Muslim countries, why is it that I keep hearing, and that I heard from the president last time he threatened to do this, that Terry Jones would have blood on his hands? How does that work? We make an allowance for the radical Islamists to riot and burn and murder because they're offended by something someone does? Would we make that allowance for Christians or Jews or anybody else? No, and we shouldn't. You can't. Violence is not an acceptable reaction to being offended. So we'll talk to Terry Jones about what he plans to do, and maybe we'll take some of your phone calls on whether you think he should do it. Does he have a right to do it? Should he do it? And who would be to blame for bloodshed? The people perpetrating the bloodshed, or Terry Jones, who apparently will be forcing the bloodshed? On the Steve Malzberg Show on